Could we come to order, please, everybody? And please join me in a salute to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everybody. Could we have a sunshine announcement, please, Cam?
Yes, good evening, Chairman. Today is Tuesday, July 9th. This is a Jersey City Planning Board meeting with a scheduled 5:30 p.m. start time. And in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting has been given into the editor of the Jersey Journal, the Jersey City Reporter, and posted with the city clerk on July 5th of this year. This meeting was also posted on the Jersey City Division of City Planning webpage, and all distribution materials made available to the board were published and made available to the public.
Okay, thank you. Could we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Councilwoman Prinzary.
Here.
Commissioner Torres. All right, Commissioner Stamato.
Here.
Okay. Commissioner Lipsky.
Here.
All right. Commissioner Dr. Desai. Okay. Commissioner Green.
Here.
And Chairman Langston.
Here.
Okay, we have 7 commissioners present. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Mike, could we swear in the staff, please?
We're missing Tanya and Eric.
I can get them on the go around. So I see Matt, Sophia, Cameron, do you guys swear any testimony you give tonight's gonna be the truth? And Tanya, do you swear any testimony you give tonight's gonna be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Do we have any correspondence, Cam?
Yes, Chairman. So in the adjourned section of the agenda, an applicant actually made a mistake on their notice, and the item lists them as carried with preservation of notice. However, they are going to have to renotice, and they are going to be renoticing for July 23rd, and that is item D. That is case P2023-0089. It's a preliminary and final major site plan with variances at 387 New York Avenue. And they are carried to July 23rd with no preservation of notice. They will re-notice.
Okay, thank you, Cam.
And then the very last item on the agenda, that would be item 20 under new business. This is case P2023-0056. This is a preliminary major site plan with C variances. It's for 44 Park Lane North, and they've requested to carry with preservation of notice to the August 6th meeting.
Cam, we do have one after that, right? Item 21 as well.
So that item was not on the Sunshine agenda. That was the original agenda. That is Aetna, I believe you're
Yes,
referring to?
correct.
Yeah, and they are actually under the adjourn now, and they are going to be on for the July 23rd meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are they going to renotice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no. Preservation of notice. Sorry about that. Carried to July 23rd with preservation of notice, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm working off
That's
an old agenda, it looks like. Okay, so that's our only correspondence?
Yes, Chairman.
All right, so let's move into,
Yeah, so that's item D under old business. I mean, under adjournments. I'm sorry. Item D under adjournments. That is 387 New York Avenue.
Thank you. I got it.
Yeah, okay.
Council, do you want to say anything?
Yes, good evening. Eugene O'Connell appearing for 1215 Van Vorst. We would ask that that be carried from this meeting to the July 23rd meeting with preservation of notices.
Okay, so case P2023-0039 is a preliminary and final major site plan for 215 Van Voorst Street. Will be carried to a date certain to be July 23rd with preservation of notice. So if anybody's here for that application tonight, you will not receive new notice. That will be on our next regularly scheduled meeting. All right, thank you, council.
Chairman.
Okay, so let's get into old business. We'll call item 7A is case P2024-0104 is a one-year extension, and that was with a minor site plan with variance for 252 Monticello Ave. Good evening, council.
Good evening, everybody. Stephen Joseph of Castano Quigley Trami for the applicant. This is a second one-year extension for the applicant. The applicant's not a developer. This is a local artist who purchased the property, building it out as their studio. Construction issues, financing issues, needs a little bit more time. The approvals would expire on May 18th, 2025 with this extension.
Okay, thank you, council. Any questions, anybody? And council, obviously, any conditions of
Conditions
approval
remain.
on the previous application would be carried forward onto this extension. Okay, if there's no questions, I'll open it up for public. If anybody's here from the public that wants to comment on this application, please come on up. Anybody from public?
Seeing no one from the public, Chair, I move to close.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Public is closed. Cam, do you have anything you want to add?
Just as per usual, we ask that the applicant agree to all conditions that were placed on the record under the original approval,
Yes, of course.
and planning staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion then.
I think they want us to get used to it coming forward.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item number 7A, case P2024-0104.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval.
Okay, on a motion to approve, Councilwoman Prinzary,
Aye.
Commissioner Torres,
Aye.
Commissioner Stamato,
Aye.
Commissioner Lipsky,
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai, Commissioner Green,
Aye.
and Chairman Langston.
Aye.
Motion carries, all in favor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, council. All right, let's move on to 7B is case P20-165. That's a termination or withdrawal of a preliminary and final major site plan with deviations. Address is 21 to 29 Van Rypen Avenue. Good
Yes,
evening, council.
good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. For the record, Charles Harrington of Connell Foley on behalf of the applicant. So what we're here tonight is to confirm or memorialize our notice to the Planning Department on September 29th, 2023, that my client was withdrawing and/or terminating this approval. At that time, we were having issues with the existing building. There were tenants in the building. It appeared that this was not going to happen in the very near future. So my client chose to terminate it with the understanding that terminates finally. I mean, it's done. And in the event he wants to build on the site, he has to come back to this board for a new development. And he's also, at the time, he was looking at a different concept. So we're just seeking for this to be memorialized by the board.
Okay, thank you, council. Any questions, anybody?
So Chairman, just to expound upon that, obviously approvals run with the land and therefore they're able to be transferred from owner to owner. And if the property owner that secured the approvals no longer wishes to act upon those, then they have the right to seek to have them either terminated, withdrawn, abandoned, or any similar adjective. But it's important that it be memorialized in the board's records for everybody else in the public at large to know that they can't buy an approval. There's no longer that approval with the project. So, Mr. Harrington, is your client here by chance, or a representative of your client, or you're just working under his authority?
Yeah, I'm just working under his authority tonight. It was my understanding that we could make that representation on behalf of the client.
All right, so obviously, as an officer of the court, you're making the representation that you've advised the client that obviously he's withdrawing as he's requested to do, and that is his wish and prerogative to do so, and the board is, got the discretion to either accept or not.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
counsel.
Thank you.
That being said, any questions? Any other questions? All right, thank you. Is anybody here from the public that wants to comment on this application? Anybody from the public?
Seeing no one from the public, Chair, I'd move to close.
Seconded.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Cam, your hand on this for Liz, I assume?
Yes, and planning staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll entertain a motion then.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve case number P20-165.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval.
Okay, Councilwoman Prinzery,
Aye.
Commissioner Torres,
Aye.
Commissioner Stamato,
Aye.
Commissioner Lipsky,
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai, Commissioner Green,
Aye.
and Chairman Langston.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All in favor to approve the termination of this application.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's call item C under old business. This is case P20-089. This is for 810 Pavonia Avenue, and this is an approval to be deemed abandoned. Good evening, counsel.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jason Tuvell from Prime and Tuvell, attorney for the applicant. This is almost exactly the same type of application that the board just heard. My client received an approval for this property for 12 units back in December of 2020. The approval has since expired. There's been no extensions of the approval. My client has decided, based on construction costs, interest rates, to instead renovate the existing structure at the property, and therefore request that the board formally acknowledge the withdrawing of the approval. To Mr. Lampe's question before, to Mr. Harrington, my client is aware of his rights that he's abandoning as a result of this, that they would not be able to build this again. Any future applications would have to come back to the board like any other application would. So we'd ask that the board grant this request.
Okay, thank you, counsel. Any questions? Anybody? Questions? You guys good? Okay, is there anybody here from the public that wants to comment on this application? Anyone from public?
Seeing no one from the public, Chair, I'd move to close.
Second it.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Cam, anything?
Planning staff again recommends approval.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion then.
I'd like to make a motion to approve case number P20-089.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded for approval.
Councilwoman Prinzery,
Aye.
Commissioner Torres, Commissioner Stamato,
Aye.
Commissioner Lipsky,
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai, Commissioner Green,
Aye.
and Chairman Langston.
Aye.
Thank
Motion
you.
carries. All in favor.
Okay, thank you, counsel. All right, let's move on to new business. Item 9 is the review and discussion of certified artists. I apologize if I butcher anybody's name. I do it every meeting. Jada Thomas, Delaney Espinoza, yes. Tanvi Malushti, Amy Farris, Laurel Tal, Nanette Ramon De Los Santos, Yulia, I'm sorry, Cabrera, Abars, Leonardo Camari, Martin Ramon De Los Santos.
So the artists that have applied for the certification meet criteria 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I know we're not used to seeing so many artists all at once, but an artist unit came online and there were a lot of applicants, so that's why. But they meet all the criteria, and planning staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you, Cam. Anybody, any questions?
Any of the artists here or no? I was looking, you like Tandem. I just want to make a statement that I couldn't understand how we had so many artists. It's like 9 of them on the list here. I never seen that before. It's always 1 or 2. Just for the record, I would like to say for the work that they do and the pictures that they show, it's good for Jersey City. It looks really nice. Really nice stuff. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Any questions before public? Okay, is there anybody here from public that wants to comment? Anyone from public?
Seeing no one from the public chair, I move to close.
I second it.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Can we have your recommendation already? So I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item number 9, the review and discussion of certified artists.
I second it.
I'm not going to read them all.
I can, but I
No, we're
figured
fine.
it's more
We're
efficient to
fine.
just, we've already got them on record, so it's more efficient to just get stopped there.
Okay,
No?
we have a motion and a second for approval.
Okay, on a motion to approve, Councilwoman Prinzery,
Aye.
Commissioner Torres,
Aye.
Commissioner Stamato,
Aye.
Commissioner Lipsky,
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Sai, Commissioner Green,
Aye.
and Chairman Langston.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries all in favor.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on to item 10, is case P2024-0044, is a site plan amendment for 17 to 25 Perrine Avenue.
Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, Tom Lean from Connell Foley. This is a notice case, and though we posted our affidavit online, I will provide the originals to council.
Thank you, counsel.
Chairman, this case had been previously set for a hearing back on May 7th. At that time, we preserved the notice. I had the opportunity to review the digital copy of the notice. It appears to be the same notice that I was just handed, which is the original notice. It does all appear to be in order.
We need a PIN number.
Affidavit of publication, proof of mailing, A1 for purposes of the record.
Okay, thank you, counsel.
Thank you, Council. This project has a long history before this board. It has appeared in numerous amendments, and it is essentially a 6-story building with 57 units and no parking within it. The previous iterations only covered 17 through 23 Perrine. The change here is that my client has purchased 25 Perrine. For those unaware, Perrine is a dead-end street off of High Street. It runs into the back of the State Building. The additional parcel is actually the last piece of the street next to the dead end. So this addition will add another 10 units, bringing the total of the project up to 67 units. Because this has been an amendment that was previously approved under Zone 4, the zoning has remained under Zone 4 for the 17 through 23 Perrine parcels. Out of an abundance of caution, we did build this, the new addition to the specifications of Zone 4A, which is the new zoning for that area, even though this is an amendment. So this is only 4 stories as opposed to the 6 that are currently approved on lots 2, 3, and 4, which are 17 to 23. Lot 1 will be built to 4 stories and 10 units. In speaking with city planning, they do believe that we are protected as an amendment and that the Zone 4 zoning does still apply to the parcel. Out of an abundance of caution, again, we did notice for a height variance because there is a slight variance for the height of the 4-story building. Again, I don't think it is necessary. It was just done in case the board does deem that the zoning did not carry over and that Zone 4A does apply to this parcel. However, it is planning's opinion that Zone 4 does carry through for all the parcels. With that, I'm going to have Daphne Galvin come up, who's our civil engineer, just to quickly run over the site conditions for the new lot, and then we will move on to Jeff Lewis, my architect.
Okay, thank you, counsel.
I do. Daphne Galvin, Daphne Galvin.
Ms. Galvin, good evening. Always a pleasure. Your license is current tonight?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
Great. Okay, so the display that's up on the screen, it's the amended grading, drainage, and utility plan, which is sheet 5A of 12 of the site plan set that was submitted to the board. It's dated February 21st of 2024. For orientation purposes, north is generally over to the right side of the screen here, which is where the county building and parking garage exist. Perrine is along the bottom of the sheet. High Street would be off the left edge of the sheet, and Summit would be off the top of the sheet. Project is known as Block 10803. It's lots 1, 2, 3, and 4, as described by Mr. Lean. It's located on the westerly side of Perrine Avenue. The street address 17 to 25 Perrine. On this plan, there's a heavy dark line that runs from the top of the sheet to the bottom of the sheet. To the left of that line is the original approval for 17 to 23 Perrine, and number 25 Perrine is the single lot on the right side of the line. The parcel is generally a rectangular-shaped parcel containing about 3/10 of an acre, and it's located currently in Zone 4A of the Journal Square 2060 redevelopment plan area. Surrounding uses, the surrounding area is a mix of uses, including residential and commercial. The site right now is primarily vacant. 17 to 23 had been previously developed with residential uses that have been demolished. 25 Perrine still has an existing residential dwelling. Overall, the site drains from the northerly corner in a southeasterly direction towards Perrine Avenue. Using the same display here, the building expansion to 67 units will be addressed by the architect, so my testimony will be limited to stormwater management, utility modifications, and streetscape changes. With respect to stormwater management, the site is classified as a major development in accordance with the Jersey City Stormwater Ordinance. The previous project proposed a 4,500 square foot green roof area and an underground detention tank located in the southwesterly corner of the site, which is where the arrow is. That's actually the trash room and the bike room within the building, and the tank is located beneath that. And then the discharge from that tank comes out to Perrine Avenue, where it connects to the existing combined sewer. As part of the amendment, there's actually a reduction in the total area of the green roof. It's reduced from 4,500 to 3,888 square feet. But the depth of the green roof has been increased from 4 inches to 6 inches to provide for the additional volume that's necessary to accommodate the expansion. The underground detention tank remains where it was previously proposed, over under the bike room and trash room, and the connection is still out to Perrine Avenue. I'm going to go to one other sheet and talk about one other comment here. With respect to utilities, water, sewer, gas, electric, and telecom, all new services are proposed out to Perrine Avenue, and those were approved as part of the original project. And then the amended project for number 25 also proposes a new utility pole along the northerly end of Perrine Avenue. I'm going to go to the other display now. Okay, so this is the amended landscape and lighting plan. It's sheet 6A of 12 of the plans that were submitted to the board. It's dated February 21st of 2024. If you look along the bottom of the sheet, along Perrine, there were 4 trees that were originally approved, the project for 17 to 23 Perrine, and we're adding 1 additional tree at the northerly end in front of 25 Perrine for a total of 5 trees. The forestry standards require 1 tree every 25 feet, which actually means that there 6 trees are required. So the applicant will make a monetary contribution in lieu of installing the additional tree. With respect to lighting, the previous design proposed 2 decorative fixtures along Perrine, along the curb line, including 1 in front of 25 Perrine. There are no changes proposed to the lighting design from the original approval.
Ms. Galvin, you've received a memo from City Engineering dated May 6, 2024.
Yes,
And that memo is not substantially different from the memos we received for the prior iterations of this project?
correct,
Okay, and we can either comply or address the comments within?
correct.
I have no other questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Galvin?
Question on the pole for the lighting that you're gonna put in front of 25
Yes,
and the tree. So they'll be on the opposite. We're gonna have the tree will not affect with the pole or either way.
that's correct. The utility pole is at the far north end. I'm kind of circling it with the little arrow right
Okay.
there. And then the tree is down at this end of the lot, so approximately 20 feet away. I don't know exactly, but there's a separation in there.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anybody else? Any questions? Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Jeffrey Lewis is my next witness, who is our architect.
You swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
For the record, can you spell your name?
Jeffrey Lewis, Jeffrey Lewis.
Mr. Lewis, good evening. Your license is current tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
And Mr. Lewis, you didn't prepare these plans that were submitted to the board, correct?
I did not prepare them, but I've reviewed them with the preparing architect.
Thank you.
Okay. So, as was mentioned, we are adding 10 units to this new 25 Perrine section on the right of the drawing. Those units break down as 1 2-bedroom apartment, 6 1-bedroom apartments, and 3 studio apartments. The majority of the existing building, or the previously approved building, excuse me, will remain unchanged. There are a few minor changes, and so I'll emphasize those and then talk about what we're doing in the new building. So first here, we're looking at the ground floor plan. There are a few minor changes to the existing building. Again, there's that line right here, and to make it a little easier, we've colored most of what's to the right side. So the minor changes here are this room that I'm circling here was previously a janitor's closet, and we're going to use that as an electrical room. And then we've added a small utility closet that will serve as the janitor's closet, and we've added one of these on each floor. So every floor will have one of these now. So those are the revisions to this floor, and then we've added this section to the ground floor. In the front of the addition, we have a new 2-bedroom apartment, and this apartment at the base of the window well has a small little outdoor patio that's for itself. And then the rear half is the amenity space. This space has been relocated from the existing 6-story roof down to the ground floor here. The space has an ADA bathroom, its own storage space, and then private access to the backyard. This yard will be for all the building tenants, and it's made up of a 143 square foot patio area and 697 square feet of lawn. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the second floor. I apologize for the scrolling. Okay, so here we are on the approved second floor. Again, as I mentioned, the only change that we're making to the existing second floor is adding that small utility room. And looking at the new addition, we are proposing 2 1-bedroom apartments, one here in the front and one on the side, and then a small studio apartment facing the back. And then actually, I'm going to skip over the 3rd and 4th floor because those are exactly the same as the second floor, and go directly to the 5th floor, if it will let me. Come on. Here we go. And so the 5th floor, again, that utility closet has changed. Here we are, almost. Sorry. When I do all these color drawings, it goes really slow on this laptop. I really apologize for this. Jesus. I'm sorry, I was afraid this was going to happen. Here we go. Okay, 5th floor. And here we are on the new 5th floor. Okay, so we added this utility closet. The 2 apartments here stayed basically the same, just a very minor revision for the hallway. And then what we're doing at the 5th floor is on the roof level of the new 4th floor addition, we're relocating the gym. This gym was, again, originally on the 6th floor roof, so we're moving that down to this roof. It's a total of 381 square feet. It also provides direct access to the side here, where we have an 897 square foot area that's going to be turf. It's a turf finish, so people can be outside here. We also are adding 2 private roof decks, one in front of the gym and one in the back of the gym, and both of these are accessed directly from the apartment adjacent to it in 17 to 23 Perrine. Now, looking at the 6th floor, here, again, we added the utility closet, and then we are using the roof of that gym space to, again, provide 2 private roof decks, each of which, again, will be accessed directly from the existing apartment in 1723 Perrine. And lastly, we have the roof deck, and here we do have more changes to the existing building because, as I mentioned, we did relocate many of the spaces that were up here. So there's much less building space on this roof deck now. The amenity space has been relocated and the gym space has been relocated. So now we really just have the patio. So we did keep the patio the same size. However, we are, previously the patio was right up against the front facade. We're able to set that back from the front of the building now, which we think is an improvement. We've also changed the drawing to only have one elevator go to this roof instead of two because of the reduced usage, as well as having one bathroom instead of the previous two, again, because of the reduced usage of the space. As was mentioned, the green roof area has been slightly reduced to a little under 3,900 square feet. And that actually is all the changes for here. There's no sixth floor, obviously, no roof level for the new addition. Moving to the building elevations, and I'm going to try to zoom in a little on the new front elevation, see what we can see. The major changes, again, just to emphasize this, the roof level has much less building, so a lot of that amenity space has been removed. There's much less space up there. The main change that we are making, however, is to the brick finish at the base. This was previously a very dark brick. The name of it was Black Diamond Velour. And we're actually changing that along the ground floor of the existing building to be a brick blend of the three bricks shown on the left. One of them is that same black velour brick, but then two lighter bricks, so we'll lighten up the ground floor of this a little bit. And then we're carrying that same brick blend over to the new building, and that will be the main finish of the new building, all the way up to the top, where we have, again, just like in the old building, we have a built-up brick cornice, and this cornice will be that black velour brick. We're using the same window finishes, same door finishes as the existing building. The gym space will have white fiber cement siding finish, same as the existing roof spaces and side and rear elevations. And we have a black aluminum railing on top of that roof space for the roof decks there. Here we're looking at the rear elevation. We did not make any changes to the rear of the building, again, except for those roof deck spaces, which are being reduced. The new addition is actually the exact same as the existing building as far as all the finishes, so that includes the windows, our doors, the vents, as well as the fiber cement siding finish. And lastly, I'm going to go to the side elevations. Okay, and so at the top here, we're looking at the south elevations. We're not doing any addition on this side, so the only change again is that rooftop space is slightly smaller than it was previously. At the bottom, we're showing the existing and proposed north elevations. This is where we're putting our addition. So we were wrapping the brick around. We're still wrapping the brick around the side. However, now we're just doing that as a pilaster at the corner of the building. And again, we are using all of the same finishes as we're using on the side and the rear, as far as the doors, the windows, and the fiber cement siding finish. That concludes my presentation of the changes. Do you want me to address anything directly?
Yeah, just a very quick question. As I mentioned in my opening, the four-story addition is slightly higher than what is permitted in Zone 4A, even though planning staff has deemed this to be in Zone 4. Is the result of that additional height to keep consistency on the building as approved across into the new addition?
That's exactly why.
I have nothing further for Mr. Lewis.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lewis. I have no questions. Anybody else? Anyone?
So, counsel, for purposes of the record, is there a numerical calculation that you could give as to that?
Sure.
That change?
Just the height as...
You want to know the height of
Yeah.
the addition?
Yes.
Sure, let me zoom in and get it.
And also, counsel, while Mr. Lewis is looking for that figure, is the project under construction? Everybody keeps referring to the addition building.
Yeah, the project is not under construction. It's an addition to what was previously approved, even though it is integrated into the building. It's an addition in the sense that it was not part of the prior approval.
But it will all be constructed
That is
as
correct.
one building.
That is correct, yes.
Come on. Better eyes. Almost there. Come on, don't tell me they're not gonna have it. So 41'6" is the total building height of the new addition.
Where 40 is permitted in Zone 4A.
And that essentially lines up all of the floors
Correct.
across the building, obviously.
That is correct. However, if this was in Zone 4, and planning staff does believe because of the amendment, the 6 stories would be permitted, and therefore the deviation is not necessary.
Okay, thank you. Anybody, any questions after
Can
that?
you give a breakdown on number of bedrooms you have?
Yes, I can.
You have it?
Yeah, I do.
Across the
On the-
whole
the whole
project,
building?
Doctor?
Yeah.
Yes.
The whole building. There's 21 studios, 31 bedrooms, 14 two-bedrooms, 2 three-bedrooms.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lewis. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Council, anything else?
Yeah, just, I am in receipt of the plan, memo from staff dated May 15th, and we can agree to the conditions therein. There is no proposed parking in this building. However, we did receive comments from traffic and engineering. There are some recommendations that they have made to the city council about Perrine, but they don't relate to the actual building themselves. They would be actions that the city council would have to take. Other than that, I have nothing further.
Okay, thank you,
And
Council.
do you have any low income there?
There are no affordable units in this building. There's no requirement for this site.
Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, let's open it up for public comment. If anybody's here from the public that wants to comment on this application, please come on up. Anybody from public?
Seeing no one from the public, Chair, I move to close.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Matt, anything you want to add?
Not too much, Chairman. As council mentioned, the council agreed to the conditions in the memo stated that this development is protected under the time of application rule, and the amendment does not void that as the sorry, I'm just looking for the numbers on my own memo. Yes, the number of units nor the height and stories is not changing by more than 20%. There was, as council mentioned, a slight gray area in the fact that one parcel in the proposed development was not included in the original approval. The inextensive discussions with the applicant and their professionals discussion came around a design that both respected the applicant's rights under the time of application rule, while also reflecting the spirit of the change in zoning to Zone 4A, which is a lower density zone, and while allowing for the efficiency of this to be one building and not two buildings. Staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve case number P2024-0044.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded for approval.
Commissioner Councilwoman Prince Airy,
Aye.
Commissioner Stamato,
Aye.
Commissioner Lipsky,
Aye.
Commissioner Desai,
Aye.
Commissioner Green,
Aye.
Commissioner Torres.
I just want to, before I put my vote in on the record, this project, I never agreed to this project. I always took a stand on this one. I don't know, as when it first came to this board, it was an as of right, but for me, it didn't fit the intent of the plan in that neighborhood. And I took a stand always on this project as a no vote because of it didn't fit what I felt was the intent of that plan. And I want to put that on the record. This time, the project has got approved and passed by my fellow commissioners, and I am going to cast a yes vote for this project now so it can move forward. But I just want to be clear on my reason why. I still feel it doesn't belong in that neighborhood, but But my fellow commissioners did approve the project, and I feel with the addition, it should start to move forward. So I wish the best. I vote yes.
And Chairman Langston.
I'm going to vote aye. I agree with planning staff that I think the zoning determination is for Zone 4. That being said, even if it's 4A, I think that deviation is de minimis, and it's the case is there for it. So, yeah, I'm going to vote aye.
All right, motion carries 7-0.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Council. All right, let's move on to item 11 is case P2024-0040. Is a final major site plan amendment for 55 Hudson Street. Council, good evening.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. George Garcia from Conofola here on behalf of the applicant. Just some housekeeping stuff. This is a notice hearing, so I have the original notices here. But I'll deliver
This
it.
one, 55, and then we'll do that.
Thank you,
You
Council.
can use this computer too. I brought up both his staff reports. Here's the staff memo for that. And here's the staff memo. Oh, okay.
Chairman, this matter was originally scheduled for a prior hearing back in May. At that time, the matter was carried and the notice was preserved and carried through tonight's meeting. I'd had the opportunity to review the electronic notice that had been provided. I am now looking at the original that council has just handed to me. It does appear to be the same notice, and it appeared to be in order and appears to be in order. So we can mark it as A1 for purposes of the record.
Okay, thank you, Council.
Okay, another housekeeping issue, Counselor. The 4 slides that my architect is going to present was not uploaded in the portal. So I would like those to be marked in as A2 after the presentation is concluded, if that's okay with
So
the
let's
board.
mark them as A2, and we'll accept them into evidence after he testifies to them. They are 4 slides. If the slide that's up on the screen is one of those slides, it has a June 11th, 2024 date on it. I suspect that date is uniform throughout.
That's probably accurate, yes. So let me give the board some background. This project is located at 55 Hudson Street. It was approved by this board a few years ago as an as-of-right high-rise building on what's known as the last 2 Colgate sites. Project's under construction, and bless you. And our client is seeking to do some minor modifications that include enclosing the basketball court on the amenity deck, providing more landscape, reconfiguring the parking deck to allow for a retail tenant to use more than the allowed parking spaces in the Colgate plan. So we are seeking a deviation to allow for 62 spaces as opposed to 61. To make this expeditious, I have the architect from Handel Architects, Frank Fisaro, who will testify as to these slides. And then I have my planner, Charles Height, who will testify as to the parking variance. Just so the board understands, the Colgate plan is a minimum or a maximum. I can't have more. And this retailer is requiring more. So those are my 2 professionals that will have testify. We have submitted civil site plan drawings from Dresner Robin, dated February 22nd, 2024. A traffic updated report from Langen Engineering, dated April 15th, 2024. And an updated landscaping plan prepared by Melillo Bauer, dated January 31st, 2024. Our client intends to rely on those unless the board has any questions. So if it's okay, I'd like to call Mr. Fisaro up to give his presentation.
Sure. Thank you, Council.
Thanks, George.
Do you swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Speak and spell your name.
My name is Frank Fisaro, F-R-A-N-K-F-U-S-A-R-O.
Mr. Fisaro, good evening. We've qualified you in the past. Your license is current tonight?
Yes, it is. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. You're qualified.
Great. So as George mentioned, we're here for two modest changes, one to the parking and one for an addition to enclose the basketball court that was on the amenity rooftop. The plan that you see on your screens and in front of me is a typical parking plan. The prior approval included 378 parking spaces. 31 spaces were dedicated to retail and 347 to residents. The proposed change includes 338 parking spaces, with 62 dedicated to retail and 276 for residents. Nothing about the circulation of the garage has changed. It's still a two-way circulation, and the proposed retail spaces would be separated from the resident parking spaces by a control gate. This is the proposed basketball court addition. It's in the area where where we had prior an outdoor basketball court, so essentially where the fence was to keep the balls in on the amenity rooftop originally. We now have enclosing walls. The dimensions of the court are 72 by 144 feet. And you can see here in the plan, there's some circulation on the right-hand side of the kind of bright yellow image of the basketball court. So this is in order to minimize the height of the addition. It's taking advantage of the space that we had allocated for landscaping prior. So we had a tall garage floor, which would take in trees, tree pits for the landscape that we're now using to sort of sink the basketball court. The total floor area of the court is 10,000 square feet, which is well within the permitted FAR of 15. The permitted FAR would generate approximately 1,200,000 square feet. The prior approval had approximately 930,000 square feet in it, an FAR of 11.55, so significantly under the 15 FAR, and the additional 10,000 square feet increased the total to 940,000 square feet, 338 in the project, or an FAR of 11.67. So this is a view of the addition. You could see it's set back significantly from Green Street, almost 100 feet back from Green, 30 feet from South Sussex, and about 80 feet from Hudson Street. Its overall height is 20 feet. That's essentially the area of the old court that was outdoors and the fence that would have been enclosing it. The materials for the new gym addition are complementary to the building: glass, metal panel, painted metal panel, and stucco. And the entire roof, except for some space that's allocated for private terraces against the building, will be planted. And these are just four views from the opposite corners of the intersecting streets to show the impact, or really no impact, of the addition. It's invisible when you're standing on the opposite corners. And you can see in the views here from Morris and Hudson, you don't really see the gymnasium addition. Same from Sussex and Hudson. That little gray blip on the top there on the upper right-hand image is actually the stair enclosure that was there prior. And then the views from Green and Morris, similarly, the addition is sort of out of view, and from Green and Sussex. And then finally, there's no new shadow impact generated to the streets with the addition. All the new shadow is local to the rooftop, which is the seventh floor, or the roof of the podium. And that's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Fasaro. I'd like to call Mr. Charles Height, our planner.
You swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, yes.
State your name.
Charles Height, last name spelled Heydt.
Mr. Height, good evening. Your license is current tonight?
Still current, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
Hi, let me ask you a few questions. You're familiar with the Colgate plan?
I am, yes.
And you were commissioned by our client to write this report?
Correct,
as
yes.
to the impact of the requested deviation for parking?
Yes, I was.
Could you walk through the board through your analysis?
Yes, we did submit prepare and submit the statement of principal points for this application. this project is one of the last components of the Colgate redevelopment plan. It is a whole block development. We are requesting relief for the maximum number of parking spaces permitted. So there is a cap to what's provided for retail. I'll get into the details and the rationales why, but I do offer that this proposed deviation does meet the flexible standard under the MLUL and within the redevelopment plan to be granted. We did work with the overall project team, and considering the future demand for residential parking versus retail parking, feel that there was actually a lower demand for residential parking. So in terms of allocation of the proposed reduced parking spaces, we tried to account for that anticipated demand ratio favoring the retail and provide the 62 spaces. So there is an increase in what was previously provided to this board from 31 spaces, what's required at 31 spaces to what's being proposed at 62 spaces. There is an overall reduction in parking from the prior provision. So really it's just a reallocation, but the impact would be less. So that's in terms of what we thought were the beneficial aspects. Obviously, our modifications to the building that we just presented with this amended site plan that provides some benefits as well. This area still benefits from a transit-rich neighborhood. There's availability of mass transportation, light rail. It's a very walkable neighborhood, so the increase in parking does not really sway the fact that future residents would likely have pedestrian trips in the area. With respect to the purposes of the land use law, I would offer that purpose A, appropriate development of land for a variety of uses. Purpose H, to encourage the location and design of transportation routes that will promote the free flow of traffic while discouraging the location of such facilities which result in congestion or blight. Given the deviation requested, we do think that this is aimed in trying to adequately supply parking for the future development. With respect to the negative criteria, again, there's two prongs: no detriment to the public good or welfare, same access. That's unchanged. Circulation, same circulation with the drive aisles that the architect just provided. There's a reduction in overall spaces, and we also introduce separation of retail to residential, which is appropriate in this parking deck. That really meets the impact to the public welfare. We did review the application or the proposed changes with our traffic engineer. There's no change in the impact of the proposed parking configuration on the overall network. So there's no need for any sort of major changes to intersections in the area or whatnot. The roadways can accommodate the added trips from a retail standpoint versus a residential standpoint. So we did look at that. With respect to the master plan and the intent, it remains unchanged. This application still furthers the purposes of the redevelopment plan, and it completes the redevelopment of this block, which currently today is under construction with the foundation, but was previously a surface parking lot. So other than that, we're still aiming to meet all the redevelopment design guidelines. I won't get into them. We did include them in detail in our statement of principal points, but the proposed amended site plan still furthers those purposes.
And Mr. Height, even though there's a reduction in parking, the parking it still complies with the Colgate plan.
The residential component still complies, yes.
Commissioners, that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions of the planner or the architect.
Okay, thank
or
you,
any other
Counsel.
questions that might come up, but that's it for tonight. Thank you.
Anybody? Any questions? Okay, thank you. So at this time, let's open it up for public comment. Anybody here from public? Please come on up.
Good evening. I do. Sure. It's Diane Case, Kaese, 192 Washington Street, Jersey City, New Jersey.
Ms. Case, good evening. We have 3 minutes for you.
Thank you. We would like to thank the planning board for this opportunity to learn about the project, since the applicant once again did not make any presentations or outreach to the adjacent neighborhood residents. While we generally have no objections to the continued refinement of this vertical gated community, we as neighbors do have a few concerns, and we have some questions. We are looking at a reduction of 40 parking spaces for residents and an increase in parking spaces for retail uses. Since parking does not come with the units and is charged separately, will the retail parking spaces be free, or will they require a short-term parking fee? 2, the new gym is scheduled to have a green roof. We do not see any means for access other than through residential spaces for maintenance. How is this area going to be maintained? How are they going to gain access for the maintenance? 3, the application calls out material changes, but does not present any material changes that we could find, unless they're referring to the whole physical change, not actual materials. We just would like that clarified. 4, is the intent of the parking classification change intended to provide for long-term rental, possibly monthly rental, of the parking spaces? 5, the principal point statement notes that the decreased number of parking spaces will allow for the increase in open space for the property. How does this translate into something that is good for the community as required by the findings needed for the C variance? 6, are dogs going to be allowed in this building? Can anybody tell me? I guess we'll find out. If so, we're looking at 1,017 units, and say we have 30%, say we have 50% of the units have dogs. That means that we're looking at about 500 dogs that will be added to the neighborhood. This building has wonderful amenities that include a fitness terrace, a grilling and dining terrace, a pool terrace, a gaming terrace, a fire pit terrace, synthetic lawns, an outdoor playground, and a hammock grove. But they don't have a dog run. My neighbors and I are past tired of having our charming historic neighborhood acting as the de facto toilet for the dogs that live in the high-rises. A dog run should be a requirement for all high-rise buildings, and it can easily be inserted into this structure. Lastly, if we're going to address issues with the buildings, the neighbors, those of us in the historic neighborhood, as well as those of us in the adjacent high-rises, ask that the lighting planned for the top of the building be eliminated. No amount of soft glow or promises to control the lighting for bird migration, etc., ring true. It is nothing more than light pollution to all of the surrounding residential units. We have more than enough light pollution already. We do not need any more. As I stated before, we would have been happy to discuss these items prior to this meeting, but we were not been given the opportunity. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to make these comments, and I hope that some additional changes are made tonight. Thank you.
Ms. Case. Okay, anybody else from public?
I just wanted to respond to some of her questions.
Sure. I just wanted to see if there's anybody else from public, just to give, anybody else from public, please come on up.
Close it.
Just so I'm clear that I'm answering all your questions. What first question was the parking?
Mm-hmm.
What was the question again?
The question is, are you going to charge the commercial spaces for short-term parking fee?
No.
Okay.
The maintenance on the green roofs, it's through a hatch according to my maintenance and design gentleman here from Tishman Spire.
Okay.
What's next?
Can council have a mic?
Oh, I'll speak a little louder. I'm sorry, Commissioner. What was the next one?
It was the hatch?
There was a hatch to make sure you can maintain the green roofs. That's accessible to do the maintenance.
Very good. Material changes.
There really aren't any material changes. They were describing the material changes to the amendment, the basketball court, but the building has not been changed. There's no
So
material
the bricks
change.
haven't changed, none of that has changed?
None of that has changed.
Okay. Okay. Has the parking classification, is that for renting the spaces long-term to
No,
neighborhood residents or to other people?
The parking configuration is for a retail tenant. It's not long-term, it's not a parking lot, it's the same structure. So the 62 spaces will be allocated for the retail use. The other spaces will be allocated to retail. We're not opening it's my understanding that that's how the garage is going to work. So I'm not charging long-term rentals for those spaces. That's not the intent.
Okay, so it's not going to be a parking facility?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. The decreased number of spaces allow for the increase in open space according to the principal points. I want to know how that is something that is good for the community as defined by the C variance.
Okay, I'm going to defer to Charles on that, but I will answer your last question about the dog run.
Yes.
There is a dog run located on the sixth floor of the garage. So that was accounted for as part of the amenities.
Sixth floor of the garage?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
And Charles, that's above my pay grade.
So the open space is referring to the basketball court and proposed improvements. So that will benefit the future residents of the building. So it is technically private open space, but the reconfiguration of the parking allows for the access on the level above for the basketball court.
Okay.
So that was part of the changes.
Okay, but again, that wasn't clear in the presentation that was given, okay? And the light at the top of the building?
At this point, we're not inclined to agree to have the lighting changed at the building, which was approved with the original application. We have sent Ms. Case cut sheets on it. We're willing to sit down and talk to them about it because according to my client, there's scheduled meetings to go over construction stuff. But we will discuss it with them at those next meetings, but we're not inclined to remove them at this time.
Okay, and that's not in front of us tonight, but I
That is-
appreciate
Nope.
having the conversation. Absolutely.
That's not before you. That was approved in the prior
Sure,
reiteration.
absolutely.
But that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Council, are those lights deemed to be working 24/7, 365, or is there?
It's my understanding. It's like a dimmer. It's like a crown lighting, so you could distinguishes the building, but it's dimmable. It's not on. It's not blaring. That's my understanding. But we're open to discussions. Thank you.
And again, that's not in front of us tonight.
That is not
Just
before
the
you this
amendment.
evening. That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioners.
All right, thank you. So is there anybody else from public that wanted to comment? I didn't see anybody else coming.
Seeing no one else from the public wishing to speak, Chair, I move to close.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Tanya, you're speaking for Matt tonight?
I am speaking for Matt tonight. The only conditions that he added was that all the conditions from the prior approval carry over.
Okay, and council, you're okay with that? Okay. Okay, that's it, Tanya?
That's it.
All right, thank you. I'll entertain a motion then.
So I'll make a motion to approve case number P2024-0040.
Seconded.
Okay, motion is made and seconded for approval.
Councilwoman Prinzery.
I'll be voting aye, but this was actually something that had come up in something previous, and I know it's not necessarily purview of this board, but this goes to neighborhood communication and neighborhood meetings. This happens all the time where people don't sit down for a meeting to get some of these questions answered. So just in future, make sure you're meeting with the neighbors. You're moving into the neighborhood. You want to be a good neighbor.
Sorry. Aye. Okay. Okay. Commissioner Torres.
Aye.
Commissioner Stamato.
Aye.
Commissioner Lipsky.
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Sai.
Aye.
Commissioner Green.
Aye.
And Chairman Langston.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Height's testimony. I don't think there's any detriment to the master plan. So with that, I'm going to vote aye.
Motion carries all in favor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's get our break in now before we move on. It's 6:48. We'll be back in 10 minutes. And for anybody that's here for the item for Van Voorst Street, that is carried to July 23rd. And anybody for 44 Park Lane North, that is carried to August 6th. Okay, we'll be back in 10, everybody.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah, I think that's after.
Oh, no.
I just want to say.
Yeah, it's right here.
So that's her name, Het, right?
Yeah,
H-E-T?
Het.
Yeah.
I have a picture. She was Het Patel.
No, is it Het Patel or Het Dave?
Dave.
I think Dave, yeah.
Dave, oh yeah.
Now, does she live in Jersey City?
Oh no, Hopkins Avenue next to me.
But she works in Bergen County?
Yeah, she works in one of the Georgie something.
Church?
Somebody's office, yeah. When I first met, Margaret told me she's like my daughter, and he really.
She's lovely.
She's
No doubt.
she's a
She and my
nice
wife get
girl.
on real well. They each,
And then he came to my house last year. Yesterday he said, "Oh, that's your house."
Oh, God, yeah.
But he knows everybody knows me.
Pointing somebody at her. Right. Yep, yep, yep.
His daughter got married, McLeary's, last week, I think.
Yeah, Morag up in Toronto. The University of Toronto,
Toronto,
yeah. I saw pictures.
Getting
back to your question, it's too early.
I'm with you. And see, for me, I can't get involved because I got this marathon. And if I pick a pony and some the other one wins.
I'm already involved. So, with McGrady, I had his fundraiser, I bring him, I give him all the information. And the people I know, I talk to them, so.
Yes.
We have some serious major.
They don't have a pair of depends on.
Well, yeah, right.
He was already governor, he knows everything.
Well, it's been to Washington. Been to the White House like 3 or 4 times already.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I mean, the guy's got a ton of energy.
All right, okay.
You know, a ton. I mean, you know what? I get his newsletters. I mean, signed up, and it's like every other week. It's like a whole week. You would just think that the guy.
Yeah, of course.
Is like a employee of GQ or Men's Magazine or something. It's like.
All right, could we come to order again, please, everybody?
He has like so much.
And we just have one item that we received communication, case P2023-0009 for 85 to 87 Monitor Street. That is being carried to a date certain, July 23rd, with preservation of notice. Okay, so anybody for 85 to 87 Monitor Street, carried to July 23rd with preservation of notice. Okay, so let's move on to item 12 is case P2024-0049 is a final major site plan amendment for 143 Christopher Columbus Drive.
For the record, Charles Harrington of Connell Foley on behalf of the applicant. We did provide notices for the proposed amendments, so I'd ask that they be marked into the record.
Thank you, Council Chairman. I haven't received the affidavit of publication proof of mailing with respect to case P2024-0049, 143 Columbus Drive. It was scheduled for this evening, and notice of the time and date of this evening was afforded. It does appear to be in order. We're going to mark it as A1 for purposes of the record.
Thank you, Counsel.
Okay, so the proposed amendments before you tonight are not major, but just as a little bit of a background for the board, this project was approved in December of 2022. It's part of a phased development at the corner of Barrow Street and Christopher Columbus Drive. It involves the multifamily building, which is before you tonight. It's a 7-story, it's a mixed-use building because it has commercial on the ground floor. And then they're also renovating the corner building. That's phase 1 of the project. That's under construction now, about 90% complete. And then there will be townhouses along Barrow Street. That's the 3rd phase. That hasn't started yet because we're using that area for staging purposes for the mixed-use building that we're here before you tonight, which is actually well underway. I believe it's topped off. So tonight we're proposing some amendments that affect the interior, but also extend out to the exterior. And mainly there's a change on the rooftop where we had an enclosed amenity space area. We're now having an open space area. Really that's the sum of it, but I'm going to bring up our architect, Russ Bodner, to walk the board through it.
All right, thank you, Counsel.
Do you swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
State and spell your name.
Yes, my name is Russell
Last name is Bodnar, B-O-D-N-A-R. I reside at 52 Long Hill Road in Long Valley, New Jersey. I appeared before this board several times, and my license is in good standings.
Thank you, Mr. Bodnar, and
Oh.
you're qualified.
Okay, as you can see here, I put up the roof plan already. This was the approved roof plan. There's a building lounge and.
Russ, I'm sorry to interrupt. But before you begin, should we mark this as A2? Is this something you prepared for tonight?
It's something I prepared for tonight, but it's actually part of the overall set, so I don't know if you need me to mark this as A2?
So we don't need to mark it, if you could just identify which sheet, obviously you state it's the
Yes,
roof
this
plan,
is
but-
sheet ZN18 on the set. And as you can see here, this building lounge is what we're taking off the roof. And we're gonna move the building lounge down to the first floor next to the commercial space and reduce the commercial space. I'll show you that plan in a moment. We're also removing the bathroom and the trash room off this level. Although for zoning purposes, this building is a 7-story building. For building purposes, this little tiny room pushed this into high rise. And by doing so, it actually added several hundreds of thousands of dollars to our project that was not really anticipated. So we decided let's move things around and try to make it a little economical and rearrange our interior part of our building. So if we go to our proposed, that didn't go. This is our proposed ZN18. As you can see here now, we just have an elevator lobby area. We still have a little mechanical room for the elevator, and that's our only enclosed spaces at the top, which the building official will allow us to have this and still not consider it a high rise. We do have a slightly bigger roof terrace. We went from 1,630 square feet to 1,757 square feet. We can have these two little outside open air type pergolas we decided to put, so that some people can still have shade on the roof. So we are still providing a little amenities in terms of shading on our roof. And then if we can go to the old second ZN2, and our ZN2 is the first floor plan on Christopher Columbus. As you can see, our lobby was a lobby with a mail room, a package room, and mechanical meter rooms, and that's what our space was there. And then we had 3,570 square feet of commercial space. And now we have decided to do a change around in terms of the lobby. And our lobby now on ZN2 proposed is this space here. We moved the gym. We actually have the gym on the second floor. I'll show you that in a moment. We have an amenity space on our right-hand side, and we're going to make an amenity space on our left-hand side. We don't really know if we're going to do a gym because there's actually a gym across the street, but we figure we have the amenities room that we'd like to put in this location and consider that maybe the lounge and just make this be part of our lobby. As you can see as well, our commercial space went from which was 3,570 down to 2,635 square feet of commercial space. We moved our mailroom back to this location in the rear. We also moved the package area in the back as well in this location to kind of free up and make a little nicer design for our lobby. By doing this, we could then put a little staircase to our basement. We added a space in our basement earlier on an approval with planning by itself, just to put all of our meter rooms and stuff and all of our mechanical space in the basement, especially at one point when I had to redesign it for the high rise. Our mechanical space blew up to a lot of square footage, so that moved us to the basement anyhow. So now we just have extra space we really don't need in the basement for the mechanical space, but it still works. As you can see here, we go to ZN3 old. We used to have our gym in the back rear on the second floor, which was attached to a public access terrace area. I know the neighbors are probably thrilled because they really didn't love our gym being there and our original approval. We got rid of this building gym and we actually brought that amenity space to the lower level during this time period. And by doing so, we ended up taking this floor and we made it part of a duplex. So we took the floor above, which was just a quick, one bedroom, and we took that space upstairs and made it into 2 bedrooms, and we took this lower space and made this entire space a duplex apartment, which then had a private terrace. So we still have the same 50 units, but we actually went from a one-bedroom to now a duplex two-bedroom with a study in terms of a space as well. By going to the building department, there's one other little note on the side of the building. When we did this whole project, it was actually one big project, and then we did kind of a subdivision off of that. By doing the subdivision, though, I have this down as a light and air easement, but code would not let me put windows on that light and air easement, which meant I cut in a little areaway all the way up on the side of the building right here, which could give me some windows located on that location, even though on the overall subdivision it still says light and air easement on it, but building official wise, they were iffy about the coding on that, so we just decided it'd be easier to cut that section of the building out. So that's pretty much our what we're doing here. I could show you what the building originally looked like. It did not change at all. I mean, the original building is on the exterior is our original rendering. And our original rendering, the building did not change at all, even from here. I don't know what this is popping up for, but our original building did not change at all. Even from this elevation, you don't really see those amenity room and any spaces in the back. So that is set back at least 60 feet from the front of the building. So you would, from this roof, from this angle, or even across the street where this rendering's taken, you would never notice that amenity space being removed anyhow. And that was part of we made sure that thing was located in the middle of the building because the neighbors behind us were adamant about making sure that we had, they didn't really love the amenity space on the roof either. But so I'm sure they're probably happy that we moved that off that top roof level.
Okay, yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Any questions from the board?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bodnar. Yeah, I have none. Anybody else?
Yes, I do. Here, I can. And then the image from the rear is this space as well. Like you can see here, you could never see that amenity space because we have these parapet walls that are 4 foot tall as well. The neighbors asked for the screening and some more screening and some actual decorations on the back for the design of the brickwork. So we complied with that a long time ago. And like you said, this was actually the gym earlier, but now this space and that space, these two levels here are going to be that duplex apartment.
Yeah, Council, you might, on those, red and black, taste is what one makes of it, but you may want to suggest to your client, get maybe one of these mural artists in there and do something.
Well, yeah, we'll review that. I think we'd have to review with the neighbors too, since they'll be looking at it.
And
I'm saying 2G.
Yeah.
I have a question. Is there a gap in between the bottom of the balcony?
The balcony.
Am I seeing it?
Yeah, actually,
wrong?
There's a terrace area from this section all the way back. From this
Terrace,
back
sorry.
wall to that wall in the rear is 15 feet. So from this striped wall to the back section of that wall is 15 feet, and these decks are actually brought in another 5 feet from there. There's actually there's a gap from.
I'm
this
sorry. I actually mean, this happened before. This was a question before.
Okay.
Help me out, Ed.
On the rail?
Yes.
Your balconies.
At the foot, like that space there. That's what I'm saying, that gap.
The railings flush, they're glass railings.
Okay.
Or they flush so that nothing can fall
Oh yeah,
underneath
these
them.
are like railings that go down to the ground almost. You only got like 2 inches there. That's you're not going to be able to get really anything down in that space. It just has enough that water will drip through that section.
Okay.
So that's it for the railing itself, in terms of the glass railing, and the back parapet wall is over 4 feet, so that kind of blocks anything for the neighbors as well. So there's no way to dump onto their property.
The concern is on the balconies, the railing.
Correct, right up here.
Anything potentially being kicked under that railing and falling on anybody below.
Like a minor or something.
Yeah, I don't.
How-
It's
how-
really. I mean, you have to have a little bit of space to do the railing anyhow, but you're only looking like 1.5 inches to at max. I mean, you really can't really.
1.5 inches?
Like that's what you know, the railings are set like at like 1.5 inches above off the top of the concrete, which is, so in case you have some water, I mean, you still could potentially somehow kick something. That has to be really
You want to
thin.
be
like a rock. Like
Commissioner Torres. It's not that it's intentionally. That's the problem. It's that it's accidentally.
Yeah.
Something gets kicked off because the bottom of that terrace area.
Yeah.
What is at that level there? People sitting there, people walking there.
This is the private space. If we go back to the other thing, this is the private space for the. This is the private location for the residents on the second floor level. So they have this private deck themselves.
They
But the
have a
plants
private-
are along the whole side.
So
So
they-
these terraces are here inset, and those terraces again are inset in these locations above.
Mr. Harrington, we've gone over this on other applications, obviously. There's yards back there, whether they're private or public. There's yard space, and clearly if somebody kicks a fork under that railing and it hits somebody below, that's always the concern. It's why we bring it up. Other applicants have assured the board that they can make it flush to the surface of the balcony. So,
Yeah, I mean, we'll make it as close to flush as possible. Yeah, I think it's already 1.5 inches is being represented, so, and those are already set back 15 feet from the, it's more than 15 feet from the property line, because the building is actually set back, I think, 1.5 feet or 2.
I don't think we're worried about the neighboring property. I'm worried about directly below, right?
Oh, directly below, yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
These
No, no,
the terrace people on the
There's some
Absolutely.
type of screening and stuff. I understand when you don't want is a bathtub, right? You don't want to put something down to the bottom, and now you have water coming towards the opening doors and stuff like that, which will cause more damage in the long run. So that we're not asking for that, but some type of safety measure, because I've brought this up before, was I'm seeing that we're putting these balconies right where children are playing, right underneath, adults are sitting, you know, where people are at. You know, no matter what age they are, it doesn't matter. And it's just a safety precaution, you know,
Yeah,
if
I think
something happens, yeah.
I think
Some-
it's a great point, and we'll address it with some kind of safety measure so that you
Some
don't
type of screening or
kick something below there out onto the lower
Yeah, we could put a
patio.
little, we could leave it so the glass railings there, and we could put like a mesh screen there, just on the bottom section, just to attach it to the deck. The deck. It's only going to be like 1.5 inches, 2 inches at most. You know what I mean?
Because I'm a plumber by trade. You don't want to put
Yeah,
a
well-
drain there and then have to have a trap and then a freezing lines and a whole bunch of other issues later on down the road.
Correct,
You
that's
know,
where-
so
yeah, I don't have areas for drainage.
and I understand the concept of having the water coming off, but also if there's some way of making it where the water comes off, but also safety for the people that are sitting below. You know, and nobody wants to hear about somebody getting hurt. You know.
Okay, yeah. We could come up with a
If
screen.
the other commissioner finished, well, of course, I have one more question for you, sir. Okay. The air lighting that you had spoke about
Yes,
at the,
on the side of the building.
you said the building department told you that you had to put an air lighting on the side of the building?
Yes, if I could go to the main set of plans I submitted, this is proposed. If we go to,
And Russ, that's to provide for the windows, right?
that's to provide for the windows. You can't have a window on a property line. And technically, when we did the subdivision, we created a property line. Well, I figured, I asked people, because you can see they're on every floor. If you go up to, I'll try to zip down to, that's why.
So my concern is this, that once we have an air lighting situation, or a light well, right? Is there a window or some type of access that if it had to be cleaned, or does it become a big garbage can?
No, it can be cleaned from, you
Yeah,
can't really see it because it's on the side of the building, because these are just the zoning board drawings. But you see there's a window located here, behind this other building, that's actually, we're building these buildings
Yes.
as well. And that goes all the way down to the bottom, and you can then access it, because we have actually a drive aisle that goes in that location as well, that goes from our building, it actually is,
So you would have some type of access to
easy
that
access
bottom
yeah,
part?
there's easy access, because you have this drive aisle that actually goes through this building into our building, and that is actually where that location of that space is. So the person themselves can access that space from the apartment. But you can also have a maintenance person just put a ladder up and access that spot.
And
as well.
access to it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just some way if something had to get cleaned or something had to be done, and we don't have a situation where we have a nice little garbage can sitting there.
Yeah, right. So the short answer is yes, we have access to clean it.
All right, thank you very much. That's what I have.
Okay, anybody else? Any questions? All right, and council, we'll add that balcony screening as a condition. You're okay
Yes,
with
that would be acceptable.
Okay. Okay, is that your presentation?
Yes.
Anything else? All right, is there anybody else, I'm sorry, is there anybody here from public that wants to comment on this application? Anybody from public?
Seeing no one from public, Chair, I move to close.
Second it.
Okay, motion is made and seconded, public is closed. Tanya, is this yours? Or it's Matt's?
Yeah, it's also Matt's, and the conditions that he wrote are exactly the same as the last one, which is that all the conditions from the previous one continue in effect. Is there anything that you guys wanted to add? There was a lot of conversation about the balcony or anything like that?
With,
Okay.
just with the screening under the railing.
Can we just add some language like that into the condition? This way there's a clean record of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So all the conditions from the prior approval, plus the condition with regard to the balconies and the safety screening.
Okay, great, thank you. Tanya, anything else?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. I'll entertain a motion then.
I'll make a motion to approve case number P2024-0049 with the additional condition that was discussed here tonight.
I'll second it.
Okay, a motion is made and seconded.
On a motion to approve, Councilwoman Prince Array,
Aye.
Commissioner Torres,
Aye.
Commissioner Stamato,
Aye.
Commissioner Lipsky,
Think it's a great addition for Columbus. I vote aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai,
Aye.
Commissioner Green,
Aye.
and Chairman Langston.
Aye for the amendment.
All right, motion carries. All in favor?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. All right, let's move on to item 15, I believe is up next. Correct. Case P2023-0060 is a minor site plan for 269 MLK Drive. Good evening, council.
Good evening, Stephen Joseph for the applicant. All right, 269 MLK. This is in a redevelopment zone. The reason why we're here tonight is because it's in a redevelopment zone. It triggers a minor site plan. I think we did notice for this, but we actually didn't have to because it's only a minor site plan approval. Very simple project, rehab of the building, changing the facade, interior floor plan changes. Alan Feld is here tonight. He's going to walk us through the plans. Alan, let's get you sworn in.
I do. Alan Feld, F-E-L-D.
Mr. Feld, good evening. Pleasure to see you. Your license is current tonight?
It is.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified, but let's qualify notice before we move on.
Chairman, council is correct. No notice of this application was necessary under the statute. However, notice was provided. I had the opportunity to review it. It did appear to be in order. So for purposes of the record, we will mark it as A1 since council took the time to do it.
Thank you, counsel.
Council, footprint of the building is not being expanded. Everything's internal and with respect to elevations, correct?
That is correct. We are going from 9 dwelling units to 12 dwelling units, 3 commercial spaces on the ground floor to 2 commercial spaces on the ground floor. Very simple.
All right. Let's see what it looks like.
All right. Alan, if you want to walk us through the plans briefly.
Yes, so this is an existing 4-story building on MLK Drive. It's in the Jackson Hill redevelopment area. Presently, there are 3 commercial spaces on the ground floor, and on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floor, there are 3 apartments, existing apartments.
Take us to the first floor plan. So here, Alan, we have the basement, and then this is the first floor.
Correct. So there are 2 commercial space on the first floor. There's 2 commercial spaces first facing MLK Drive, and there's one commercial space in the rear on the side street. And again, on the second, third, and fourth floor, there are 3 existing apartments. We're going to be remodeling completely the apartments on the second, third, and fourth floors. We're updating.
And Alan, we're removing the commercial space in the rear on the first floor, and we're creating a dwelling
Yeah,
units
that's
there.
on the proposed. This was the existing floor plan.
All right, and this is the second to fourth floor existing versus proposed.
Yes, there are new layouts, also 3 units per floor, but a new layout, new updated layouts.
Council, on that first floor, is it fair to say that we are reducing the commercial space and adding the units to the first floor?
That is correct. We have our roof plan here, right, Alan? We're adding a mechanical on the roof.
Yeah, adding the HVAC compressors on the roof, otherwise there's no work to be done on the roof.
Now we'll go into the elevations. This is existing, right, Alan?
Yes, this is the existing side elevation.
And
And that's proposed. We'll have an entrance on the side for the 3 apartments. Towards the rear, there are 3 separate entrances for each apartment. That was the part of the commercial space previously. But we're not touching any of those murals that were on the
We're so just for a little context with the murals, because the building's so interesting, I personally did the site visit with the city's historic expert in the community. We're preserving as much as we possibly can, and the applicant has also offered to allow the city or the community or whoever to remove what can be removed if it wanted to be preserved differently. Many of the murals on this building can actually be removed. They're either metal grates or plywood onto the building. The real impact from our development is with the commercial space, with getting rid of a lot of those metal grates and putting in glass. But anything that the city or the community would like to preserve, we're happy to remove it, and it is fairly easy to remove. So, Alan, we have the existing and the proposed here, right?
Correct. The new storefronts on the 2 commercial spaces on MLK Drive.
The existing left side.
Yeah, that stays pretty much the same. And that's the rear, also stays pretty much the same.
Great. Thank you, Alan. I think that's basically the project. If the board's familiar with the building, it's in really, really rough shape. But that does conclude our direct testimony this evening.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Anyone? All right, thank you, Mr. Feld. Council, that's your presentation, that's it?
That does conclude our presentation.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody here from public that wants to comment on this application? Anyone from public?
Seeing no one from the public, Chair, I move to close.
I second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Public is closed. Tanya, do you have any concerns?
I want to say publicly and on the record, thank you so much for working with us. Sluggos is an institution, really, in the city. And we were able to bring our historic consultants on board and get a lot of great photo documentation of it. It's already actually in the Library of Congress. So the site itself is not just historic Jersey City, but also historic nationally. And us being able to kind of preserve this part of African American history in Jersey City is really a unique opportunity. I'm really grateful for them working with us on that. With that said, I have my very standard conditions. All testimony is binding. Materials, colors can be changed. This is all within the portal, so it's online. The only thing I did add in here is that street trees would be needed to add to MLK and to Bostwick. And if they can't be, because the forester agrees with you that they can't, there's always the payment in lieu, but we'd have to at least add it in there.
Yeah, absolutely. We're fine with the street trees, and if the board wants to grant a design waiver for tree spacing or anything like that, we're happy to squeeze those in there. But I would want that on the record if the city prefers trees instead of a pavement.
So Tanya, we don't know what the spacing would be at this
No.
point. I don't think we could grant a waiver without having that information.
Yeah, I mean, I'm comfortable just letting the forester make that call, one way or another.
Okay.
That's fine. Yeah. So sometimes we grant the waivers regardless of what the engineering says about that. But we're happy to do whatever the board would like.
Okay. Yeah, I think we, if you're okay with that condition, to let the forester determine it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I'll entertain a motion then if there's nothing else.
Right, I'll make a motion to approve case number P2023-0060.
Second it.
All right. We have a motion made and seconded for approval.
Councilwoman Prinzary,
Aye.
Commissioner Torres, Commissioner Stamato,
Aye.
Commissioner Lipsky.
Yeah, Sawgo's, as Tanya said, is an institution, and certainly with all that religious regalia on the building, I'd be careful not to mess with the Almighty, but I vote aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai,
Aye.
Commissioner Green,
Sluggles is legendary in my community. I was so excited when I realized, I was like, wow, they're finally like renovating. I vote proudly aye.
and Chairman Langston.
Aye.
Motion carries all in favor with conditions.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to item 16, is case P2023-0085. Is it preliminary?
Yes, please.
Gotcha. Preliminary and final major site plan with variances for 155 Newark Avenue.
All right. Good evening again. Stephen Joseph of Castano Quigley Cherami for the applicant. This is a notice case. I would like to confirm we have notices. This has been carried a couple times, I believe.
No.
It should come up. Yeah, it's going to come up.
It's fine.
Chairman, I received the affidavit of publication proof of mailing with respect to the application 155 Newark Avenue here in the city. The notice was sent back in May of this year for a meeting in May, May 21st. It was carried multiple times to this evening's meeting. It does appear to be in order. We're going to mark it as A1 for purposes of the record.
Okay, thank you, counsel.
Thank you. So 155 Newark Avenue, this is located mid-block on Newark Ave. It's in the Newark Avenue downtown redevelopment plan. It's the old Sleep Cheap building. It's a hideous building that we're proposing to demolish and reconstruct. The applicant's proposing a new 7-story building, commercial on the ground floor, 27 dwelling units above it. In order to accomplish this, the applicant is requesting preliminary and final major site plan with C variances for setbacks along Newark Avenue. Will is our architect this evening, and he's going to walk you through the plans after we get him sworn in.
Yes. Sure, it's William Weckenman, last name spelled Weckenmann.
Mr. Weckerman, good evening. We've qualified you in the past as well. Your license is current
Yes,
tonight?
it is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're qualified.
Is this blurry on your screen, or
Yeah.
does it look okay?
And it's small. Can we make it the full screen?
Yeah, let me see.
Yeah, it's blurry for some reason.
Yeah, it's blurry on my screen too. I don't know. Let me see if.
It could be the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's a little funky, but I think it's. I think it'll be okay. But if there's any questions, we can. I'm happy to clarify. So, as Steve mentioned, this project is located at 155 Newark Avenue. It is, it's a through lot. It's 2 doors down from the corner of Barrow and Newark, and extends from Columbus, from Newark Avenue all the way to Columbus. The existing building that's on site currently will be removed. In fact, the demolition permit has been filed and been approved by the building department, so we anticipate this building coming down sometime within the next few weeks. So the proposal tonight is for a new building to replace the existing building. I'll start off by walking you through the architectural site plan. The Newark Avenue is on the bottom of the screen here, and Columbus Drive is towards the top of the screen. The building is a 7-story building that steps up as you get closer to the center of the property. So this white area here at the center of the screen is the 7th floor roof, and then the building steps down 1 floor on the Columbus side, so we have a 6-story frontage on Columbus. And then to comply with the requirements of the redevelopment zone, floors 5 through 7 aren't visible from the Newark Avenue right-of-way. So the building steps down towards Newark Avenue. So this area here is the 6th floor roof. This area here is the fifth floor roof, and this is the 4th floor roof here, fronting on Columbus. I'm actually going to skip ahead to the sun study, which I never spend any time on, but let's see. So I think this helps to illustrate the massing of the building. Again, Newark Avenue is at the bottom of the image, and Columbus is on the top of the image. So I think this clearly shows how the building is going to step up in 3D. We are proposing a series of site improvements as well. For the Newark Avenue frontage, which is right on the pedestrian plaza, we're proposing no work in this area, so no utilities. This drawing does indicate that the electrical service will be made on Newark Avenue. We've since updated this, and all of the utilities will be tied into the Columbus side of the property. And that's to avoid any damage to the pedestrian plaza. There's also an 8-foot setback on the Columbus side, which is another requirement of the redevelopment plan. So we are proposing a new sidewalk, as well as a street tree, and a new curb on the Columbus frontage. And as I mentioned, all of the utilities will be made in this area here. Moving on, these are just some of our standard details, as is on this sheet. So I'll quickly walk you through the floor plans. Starting with the cellar level, the first 2 floors are allocated as commercial space. So there is a large cellar space which will be utilized by the commercial tenant. We also have some of the building services, as well as the bike room and the trash room located on this level. Moving up the building, we have a storefront on the Newark Avenue side of the building, which is to the left of the plan. Columbus is to the right. So we have a large commercial space which extends the full depth of the property. So this space will have two frontages, both on Newark and Columbus. Towards the center of the plan, we have some of the utility spaces, the egress stair, the elevator, and the mailboxes. The intention here was to kind of consolidate all the services at the center of the building so that we could maintain as much of the commercial frontage as possible.
Just one question on that.
Sure.
How wide or how narrow is that? It's a whole city block, right? Narrow.
Yeah, it's only a 25-foot wide lot, so it is a narrow building. The upper floors are residential floors. So starting at the second floor, the Columbus side of the building is consistent all the way up, except for when you get to the 7th floor. There are two units that front onto Columbus, a studio and a one-bedroom. We are creating a number of courtyards to allow us to provide units at the center of the building. So we have a one-bedroom at the center, another studio, and then on this floor we have a one-bedroom plus den unit that fronts onto Newark Avenue. The location of this courtyard was also planned with the building next door, so we tried to align the courtyards as much as possible to help increase the light and air to these center apartments. So that's what this dash line is here. The 3rd and 4th floor are the same. The only difference between these two floors and the 2nd floor is that we have two apartments fronting onto Newark Avenue on this side of the building. The 5th floor, the building starts to step back. So the units on the Newark side of the building, we have a different configuration for each floor here. So this 5th floor apartment is a one-bedroom, and it has a nice, large outdoor space where the building steps back. And this is a private roof terrace for this unit. So let me try this again. Sorry, Cam, did you say it was okay on?
Okay. Apparently back in May of 2023, I
Which
said
one? I'm
that
sorry.
everyone in the building probably needed
Oh.
more approval for the cannabis.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I see.
Since then, I haven't
Okay.
been involved in it.
Still getting used to the setup here. So moving up the building, the 6th and 7th floor continue to step back. So the 6th floor unit also, this is a 2-bedroom unit on the 6th floor, also with a large private terrace. And then where the 7th floor steps back, there are no units on the Newark Avenue side. We have a common roof deck, as well as the building amenity spaces. The 2 studio units on the lower floors, when we get to the 7th floor, are converted to a 2-bedroom unit, and then this unit also has a large deck where the building steps back. There is no roof deck on the main roof. We're using this purely as utility and mechanical space. I will say that we did extend the parapet around the perimeter of the roof so that none of the equipment will be visible. It will be screened by the parapet. Moving on to the elevations, I'll go over the Newark Avenue elevation in a little bit more detail on the last slide. But the elevation was designed to conform to the to match some of the historic storefronts that are, or historic facades that are along Newark Avenue. So this lower portion of the building here is reflective of some of the surrounding buildings. We are using brick as the primary facade material. We do have simple punched openings along the facade, along with a masonry cornice, which is just a detailing in the brick that is similarly proportioned to some of the historic buildings that are along Newark Avenue. As the building steps back, again, these floors here, it's a little bit deceptive when you look at it in elevation because everything gets flattened. But these 3 floors here are all set back, and they won't be visible from the street. For those floors, we are providing a corrugated metal as the primary facade material for these floors. And they have a simple design that's consistent all the way up the building. The back of the building has a similar aesthetic, the same brick, same punched window openings, and corrugated metal accent materials. Although we are creating a little bit of an undulation in the facade, which again is hard to see here, but I think when you get to the rendering, it'll be a little bit more clear. Side elevations are pretty straightforward. We are right up against the property line. This is a narrow lot, so we're providing stucco for any of the exposed areas of the facade. There is an approved project on this side of the building at 157 Newark Avenue, so we anticipate that much of this facade will be blocked by the new building. Submission was made prior to that approval, so we're showing the existing building in profile here at 157 Newark Avenue. The east elevation, the same thing. We're right up against the property line. And we're, again, using stucco as the facade material for the side elevation. We also included a diagrammatic section cut through the building so that we wanted to be sure that the step backs weren't visible from the public right away. So this is just indicating the general building form as it relates to the view angles. And then finally, we have our rendering of the Newark Avenue facade. As I mentioned, it's a fairly simple facade with white brick as the primary material, black storefront, and black aluminum windows. And then this is the Columbus facade. And as I mentioned, you can see that how the facade undulates from floor to floor. Again, this is the shadow study that I referenced previously. And then finally, we have a diagram elevation of our building compared to the approved project at 157 Newark Avenue. So the building is consistent with the scale and the proportions of the neighboring building. You can see they're almost the exact same height. The window placement is consistent, as is the design for the storefront. And then I also included some reference images of some adjacent buildings in the neighborhood that we used as inspiration that we used to design the Newark Avenue facade. So this is on the opposite side of the street. Has a similar punched window opening, similar brick detailing to this building. And you can see that that's also the simple punched window openings with a cornice is also found elsewhere on the block. And then some of the the masonry detailing that we're using for our cornice is also commonly found throughout the neighborhood. These are just two buildings that use that similar detailing to what we're proposing here. So that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Weckerman. The only question I do have is on the Columbus facade. Those undulations that come out, do they protrude into the right-of-way at all?
No, it's a little bit hard to see here, but there's an 8-foot setback here. So the base of the building is set 8 feet back from the property line.
Okay, understood, thank you. Anybody else, any questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So
Counsel. Go ahead, Santo.
A couple of years back, 155 had an approval for a dispensary at this location.
That's correct.
I guess it wasn't built out. We're demolishing the entire building, if I'm
That's correct.
following. Were you involved in that? Do you know, has that been abandoned? Is the commercial space changing in size? Is it the intent to locate in here?
It's the intent to keep the cannabis use in that space, in
Okay.
the similar area that was approved originally. There was CCB approval, there was planning board approval on that. That is a discussion that I did have with Matt.
Okay.
And it didn't really come up prior to now.
In terms of what?
In terms of that potentially being an issue for this hearing, for the site plan.
Well, so I think two things can be happening simultaneously. I don't know if the change to the space affects their operation. I don't know, did they have a lead? I don't know
It's
the
our
particulars of their operation.
Yeah, so it's our understanding it doesn't affect the use of this space. When we filed and got approved for the cannabis application, I think we even said on the record, but we had a separate site plan application at the time, and we had to amend that. It originally called for using the existing building, expanding using the existing building. When we went in, after we got the demo permit to see what was going on in the building, and Will might be able to speak to this a little bit more, there was no way this building could be saved. It just wasn't structurally sound. So we had to amend the site plan application for new construction. But we're proceeding with the understanding that it doesn't affect the cannabis use. The cannabis client is not affected by the new construction versus the reconstruction of the existing building. What did change in the site plan was how tall the building is. What's above the ground floor is very, very different.
But the commercial space is the same size and makeup?
The rear of the building is longer. The location of the door and the facade of the commercial space has not changed. And that was our understanding about what was important after some conversations with Matt. I know Matt's not here tonight.
Yeah, so Chairman, I would state, I don't know the relationship between the dispensary and the applicant. I don't know if they are a lessee and if they've, been part of the process. We have no knowledge of that. It's not really relevant. The applicant can make the application to do whatever they want with the property. I can't speak to whether or not it presents a problem for the dispensary in terms of if there's been any change and whether or not that would trigger the need to come back. Obviously, Mr. Ward is not here. If Mr. Ward is aware of this and has reviewed all of that, and
I also I don't want to put words in Matt's mouth or anything, and I wouldn't want the cannabis application to affect the site plan. They are two separate entities, and if there is some issue with the Class 5 license because of the change in the site plan, I would assume when they file for zoning, it would come up at that time. I wouldn't want to prejudice the site plan applicant for another application.
And that's fair. My concern primarily is, obviously, this was approved as a cannabis site, so I can't just pretend like I don't know that. If the applicant is fully aware of that, they own the property and they have some relation to the cannabis, whether that's their tenant and there's some potential tenancy issue, that's for another jurisdiction, counsel. I don't disagree with that. If you and your firm were involved and have had these conversations, then that's, fine. So I understand it. The intent is that the dispensary is still looking to go forward. They may or may not know about this application. They may or may not know about the change to the space that they may or may not have a lease for.
Yeah, so there is a lease in place. The tenant is fully aware of everything that's going on. They're aware of the site plan application this evening. And if there's a potential issue with the Class 5 application because of this site plan approval, then that's something that's going to have to be dealt with at some point. The building, as it stands now, cannot be used in its current condition.
Occupied. Okay.
Yeah,
I have no
understood,
issue with it,
counsel.
Chairman.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, that.
The landlord and the tenant are in full communication, and they're both fully aware of everything that's going on.
No, that's fine with us then. Okay. Anybody? I don't know if I went to questions yet. I think I did.
For us
Have
or
anything?
the public?
No, us.
Okay. So.
No.
The three variances being sought are from the downtown neighborhood redevelopment plan, right? And it says, from my understanding, is the minimum bonus setback on one is 30 feet. You're proposing 15. The other is setback of 60 feet. You're proposing 30. And then the last one is 80, and you're proposing 54 and 10 inches. So, but staff's memorandum says all the conditions of the bonuses have been met. I'm not sure I understand that from the presentation.
Sure. So there was I believe what that's referring to, and certainly Sophia can speak to that during staff comments, and we do have a planner this evening as well. But there is in order to get the height, you have to make a financial contribution based on the leasable square footage on the upper floors. And that payment is being made as part of that.
What, the Affordable Trust Fund?
To the city. I'm not sure where it's actually directed, but there is a payment that's part of the redevelopment plan. But we do have, like I said, we have a planner this evening to talk about specifically about the variances. We also have an engineer, but unless the board really wants to hear from the engineer, we'll move on to planning.
Now, maybe, Sophia, you could explain how that, since it's the staff memo that says all the bonuses, conditions have been met, maybe you could explain that.
Yes.
Well, we're gonna hear planning testimony as well.
Yeah, but
As
then I
part of
just
the
asked a
application.
question that wasn't answered. Fair enough.
I think it was answered. I think to meet the bonus, you have to make the payment. I don't think it has anything to do with the variances that are being sought. But I could be wrong.
Well, that's my point. I'm not fully sure I understand it, but.
Right.
They are separate in the redevelopment plan. So the bonus, all conditions of the bonus being met is mainly talking about the contribution to the Open Space and Pedestrian Passage Trust Fund, which is also a condition of approval, and they have agreed to contribute to the Open Space Trust Fund.
So how does that, square with the footage that it says? It just, so if the more you pay, the more you can get?
It is calculated based on net leasable area of the square footage above the fourth floor. So in this case, it's the 5th, 6th, and penthouse or 7th floor. So it is linked to that.
Otherwise, there's a different setback.
Yeah.
So it's a vertical measurement, vertical swish from North Haven. So each floor goes up, then the bonus kicks in at a particular
It kicks
height.
in after the bonus is for the additional height being built after the 4th floor. So it would be the 5th, 6th, and 7th. That is when the condition kicks in.
But we're not asking for a height variance,
It wouldn't be a height variance.
okay? Just the setbacks.
Just the setbacks are the variance. But it wouldn't be a height variance because it's a bonus. And because they choose to use the bonus, they have to contribute to the trust fund.
That makes a lot more sense.
And we're not actually stepping back the floors to comply with the requirement.
Not the full requirement in the plan for the step backs.
Right.
But if there's more floor area or net leasable area, there's a greater payment. So the only extent that the setbacks and the payment are connected, or that if there's more leasable area, the dollar amount goes up.
Correct.
Just for my own point of clarification, because we have a city open space trust fund, but this open space trust fund and pedestrian plaza passageway fund is a separate trust fund, or it goes into ours. What? Okay.
Yeah, if we could, let's put it on record.
I just want to make sure that it's really clear which, because you're saying open space trust and then open space and pedestrian plaza trust. So I just want to make sure it's really clear.
Yeah, it will go to the pedestrian plaza.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So let me ask this question, since and it relates to this money, may affect the way I vote. What does that money go to? It goes into the trust fund. How's it spent?
It will be used for improvements for the pedestrian plaza and the area in the Newark Ave redevelopment plan.
But it's specifically for the pedestrian plaza, right? It's
Yeah.
earmarked for the plaza.
Yeah.
Okay.
And quite frankly, it doesn't matter how that money is actually spent. The plan has this mechanism in it that allows developers to contribute and then get the bonus provisions based on the formula as laid out. So that is where it goes, but it's not really pertinent to whether or not it's triggered and whether or not it's complied with.
Commissioner, anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Okay.
Council, you have planning testimony for
Yes,
us?
let's bring Carolyn up and get her sworn in.
Sure.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You swear any testimony you give tonight, speaking the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Have the record to state your name.
Carolyn Worstel, Worstell.
Ms. Worstel, good evening. We've qualified you in the past as well. Your license is current tonight?
It is current tonight.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
Thank you. So I'm here tonight because we are requesting deviations for those building step back bonuses at the 5th, 6th, and the penthouse or the 7th floors. And I just wanted to sort of go through that a little bit more detail about how the plan sort of talks about these. I guess we don't have a, I just want to try and go up to the first, to the first page.
Just to hold down the function.
Okay. Okay. In the redevelopment plan, there's a mechanism for the bonus, and when you get the bonus, there are heights that are permitted, and it's based on a map called Map 5. In Map 5, there's color coding, and it indicates the number of floors that you're granted. And on our block, we are granted up to the 6 stories plus the penthouse. However, nowhere in the plan are there actually written dimensions about what those step backs are. So the only way to determine them is to basically scale them from the map. So the numbers that we've come up with, the setback requirements are based on those scaled numbers. However, these step back deviations have been granted up and down on several projects along this corridor. In particular, I believe the adjacent building has very similar step backs that have been granted. So the idea is here that we are going to be providing step backs that are consistent with other step backs that have been granted along this corridor, and again, create that continuous step back, which is the intent of the plan, but based on these slightly reduced step backs against what is essentially an unwritten standard for the ordinance. So it is a little bit complicated, and it is a little unusual in the fact that there's nothing written in the ordinance that says X number of feet is what the step back is required. But we are requesting the building step backs. As you mentioned, Commissioner, it's 15 feet on the 5th floor, where 30 feet is sort of what we scaled it on at the 5th floor. It's a little over 30 feet on the 6th floor, where 60 feet would be what would be scaled, and then 54.8 feet at the penthouse or the 7th floor, where 80 feet again is sort of what is scaled from the map. If you read the requirements there, it really talks about how the intent of these step backs is to ensure that these permitted bonus floors are not visible from the curb line on the opposite side of the street on Newark Avenue. So if you go to, function down.
That's why I had to ask.
Sheet A203 of the sheet set. You can see where we've done the sightline diagrams. So if you're standing on the opposite side of, I believe that this here is Newark. You can sort of see that with a parapet, from a sight line, you're not going to see these upper floor step backs. So even though they don't meet the scalable distances from the plan, they meet the intent, which is they're not going to be visible based on the design. So I think overall, the deviations really meet that intent of the ordinance, which is to make sure that you're not seeing that additional height from Newark Avenue. And really, the building has been designed really as Will sort of went through to promote that sort of harmonious and consistent visual environment within the neighborhood, with step backs that are consistent with the building at the adjacent property. And I think that the step back deviations really advance the objectives of the redevelopment plan and the bonus provisions. They're maintaining that existing neighborhood scale and fabric of Newark Avenue. It's allowing the redevelopment area to accommodate greater floor area, because it has access to multiple mass transit opportunities, and so that was one of the intents of the bonus. And I think, this project sort of meets those intents, and, we're creating this activization of the ground floor on both frontages with the retail space that goes through, and really the meeting that bonus provision with providing the contribution to the open space fund for the pedestrian plaza. So I think that we meet the intent of that bonus provision, even with the granting of those deviations. I think overall the project grants promotes the purposes of the municipal land use law. Consistent with Purpose A, we're providing for an appropriate use through the provision or the approval here for an appropriate mixed-use building, contributing to the Newark Avenue pedestrian plaza. It will provide adequate light, air, and open space consistent with Purpose C by providing meeting the setback standards, and then with those step backs at the upper floors, they are providing adequate step backs so that they're not visual or visible from the street. It's promoting an appropriate population density consistent with Purpose E in an area that's close to transit and where it's appropriate to have that density. And it is promoting a more desirable visual environment consistent with Purpose I. I mean, obviously, this site is, the building itself is in not good condition, and so this will provide for a new building that is modern and meets all the current building and fire code standards. I think granting the deviations will not result in a substantial detriment to the general welfare. As mentioned, this is a new building that will activate Newark Avenue and Christopher Columbus Drive frontages with retail. It's providing new residential near transit. It's going to meet all of those new building and fire code standards where the existing building is obviously not meeting them. And then I think there's going to be a lot of improvements, especially along that Christopher Columbus Drive frontage. There's actually an existing curb cut there, so this will remove the curb cut, add in a new street tree. So really there's going to be a lot of improvements on that street frontage that will come as a result of this application. And then I think it's likewise will not result in a substantial impairment to the intent and purpose of the zone plan and zoning ordinance. It advances the goals and objectives of the redevelopment plan, as mentioned before, and also advances goals in Jersey City Master Plan to provide unique, attractive, and high-quality residential uses, and to concentrate cultural, entertainment, and commercial activities within those neighborhoods that are accessible, such as Newark Avenue. So I think overall, this project can meet both the positive and negative criteria for the granting of the deviations requested.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Worstel.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions, anyone? Okay, thank you, appreciate it. Council, anything else?
Again, we do have an engineer if anybody wants to hear from him at some point. That does conclude our direct testimony, though.
Okay, yeah, we'll reserve the right to get engineering testimony if we do need it. But at this time, let's open it up for public comment. Is anybody here from the public that wants to comment on this application? Anybody from public?
Chair, seeing no one from the public wishing to speak, I move to close.
I second it.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Sophie, you have anything else you want to add?
Planning staff would ask that the applicant agree to the conditions stated in the staff memo. The most updated version was sent today, July 9th, and I just wanted to put on record that one of the conditions of acceptance was a contribution to the Open Space and Pedestrian Passageway Trust Fund, and that contribution will be a total of $65,330.82, which will be paid in 2 installments.
Yes, the applicant agrees to the conditions in the staff report.
Planning staff recommends approval.
I do have one concern on that condition. So the first installment is on site plan appeal. I'm sorry, site plan approval.
Yeah.
After it's past the time for appeal.
Yes.
And then the second is due at final CO.
Yes.
Council, do you have a problem changing that to temporary CO?
Oh, of course, temporary CO, final CO, any CO that's issued by the building department. I know that's the board's been requiring that on all any CO requirements.
Yeah, I'd rather see temporary CO just because, a building can operate under a temporary CO for an unusually long amount of time. So yeah, if we could, let's
Agreed.
change that to temporary CO.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
All right. Thank you. So I'll entertain a motion if there's nothing else.
I'll make the motion to approve case number P2023-0085 with the additional condition discussed.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion is made and seconded for approval.
Councilwoman Prince Array.
Aye.
Commissioner Torres.
Just a quick little comment that it's to the developer of this property, and if it moves forward, There's two adjacent properties alongside of that one, that when we demo and we excavate the property, to be careful and reminder of that. And the reason why I say that, good developers already did work in that area, and there's been issues with buildings that were alongside compromising the footage. So don't take for granted that it's a standard, everyday type of footage that might be there. The buildings are old. We're not sure what's under that ground, and that way there's no problem between you and your neighbors. I vote aye for this project to move forward. I'd like to see the changes that are happening on that block. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Stamato,
Aye.
Commissioner Lipsky,
Yeah, I think it's a good design. I think it's, Ms. Westell gave a great explanation of the visual for the use of the bonus. Certainly across the street, there are a number, about 2 or 3 buildings that have 4 stories, so I think it blends in well. I think it was tastefully done in terms of the punch-out windows to meet the Morley's building, and I think it'll be a great addition to the area, so I vote aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai,
I vote aye.
Commissioner Green,
Aye.
and Chairman Langston.
Yes, so I think the case for the deviations is there. I think it meets the intent of the redevelopment plan. I don't think there's any detriment to the master plan or the redevelopment plan. So my vote is aye.
Motion carries, all in favor.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
So much. And Commissioner Torres, we are coordinating with the neighbor on the demolition of that building.
Okay, let's move on to item 17, is case P2023-0012. This is a preliminary and final major site plan with variances. The address being 3 Second Street, also known as 5 Second Street or 242 Hudson Street.
Okay, for the record, Charles Harrington of Connell Foley on behalf of the applicant. Just for the administrative matters, I do have the original copies of the public notices, and I'd give those to council so he can review them and mark them into evidence.
Chairman, I received the affidavit of publication proof of mailing with respect to the applicant at 242 Hudson Street, 3 Second Street, and 5 Second Street, as is referred to. I've had the opportunity to review it. The notice is for this evening's hearing here in this room. It does appear to be in order. We're going to mark it as A1 for purposes of the record.
Okay, thank you, counsel.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to give a little bit of an overview of the project before we present it, because I think it's important for the board to kind of look back into history here. What's being presented tonight is a culmination of probably 20-plus years of planning between the local property owners and the planning department. I think it's evident when you look at the planning staff report that lists out the approvals that have happened over the years and the changes that have happened. It kind of leads to where we are tonight. And what this is tonight is we commonly refer to it as the Plaza 9 project. It is essentially phase 2 of the project that was referenced as Plaza 8 before this board in 2020. And that project was before this board, and it also included a final site plan for the beer garden and the open space will now be a permanent use as part of Plaza 8. The board may recall I was here a few months ago for an extension of the interim use because that project hadn't started yet and they wanted to open for the summer. But that ultimately, as part of the Plaza 8 project, is permanent open space and public space. As a background too, the permits are in place. The building permits are in place for the Plaza 8 development. They're just working on financing right now, so that has been moving forward. This project before you tonight was shown as a concept plan as part of that project back in 2020, but it was not fully developed. So this is the culmination of working on that after that approval. What's before you tonight would be a mixed-use 57-story building, 579 residential units, and what distinguishes this building, which I'm sure you've picked up on the agenda, is it'll have 15% affordable units. That's because of the requested variances. It does trigger the inclusionary zoning ordinance, the IZO, and I note that one of the variances that I'll get to that we're asking for tonight, which pretty much most of the projects in this area and within this redevelopment plan obtain the same variance. Specifically, Plaza 8 obtained the same variance for the side yards, but at those times we didn't have the IZO. So this is, for the city. I mean, it's going to result in 87 affordable units within this building. It's a little less than 15,000 square feet of commercial space within the building, and it will have 555 parking spaces within the garage. And as I believe it was pointed out during the Plaza 8 approval, 300 of those spaces will be used for Plaza 10. Plaza 10 is the office building that fronts on the water. That was really the first big development within this area, and was the existing office building. So we are as part of the project, we are asking for 3 deviations. One is for relief from the side yards. Now, this redevelopment plan has a quirky side yard requirement where it's the height of the building. It's basically the height of the square foot of the height of the building times a yard factor, depending on how high you are. In this instance, it's times 5, and then you have to have that on 3 sides of the building. We can't, we couldn't meet that. I mean, we could have, when we looked at different iterations, and you could come up with a Frankenstein building that would look terrible. And similar to the prior projects that have been before this board in the past years, it makes sense to deviate from that, as at least we believe it does. And I can tell you from my experience of being part of those prior projects that when this redevelopment plan was initially drafted, I think the intent was to create these larger side yards because I think they envisioned office parks similar to suburban office parks. And as it evolved over the years, you'll see what you have down there. They're all high rises, and it is what it's become, which we believe is terrific. So that we are asking for relief from. We're also asking for relief for 2 principal structures on a single lot. We are not looking to subdivide the one lot into 2. Part of the reason for that is that the intent is to create a condominium form of ownership, so that the condominiums will work together and maintain not only the new street that's created between the Plaza 8 and Plaza 9, but the public space that is part of the beer garden and the smaller park area there. And we'll have testimony on that, but I think too when you look at that, we have a lot of towers on bases, downtown, like the Irby projects. We have 2 towers on a base. So I think essentially what you're looking at here is we have 2 towers, but we don't have a base. We have a road that cuts through it, and we think that's a benefit, and that helps the circulation in the area. And then the last deviation we're asking for is with regard to wrapping the parking with a principal use, and we believe that's really an aesthetic issue, and we'll show you during the presentation. We really think we hit that with the design that surrounds the parking within the site. So, with that said, I have a number of witnesses. I have 4 witnesses tonight. I have my engineer, architect, landscape architect, and then planner. I also have my traffic engineer available in the event the board has any questions in that regard. So I am going to start off with my engineer. It's Mr. Collins. And Tom's going to set us up with the computer.
Let's see if we have the. Oops. No. Oh, sorry. I did something to your tablet thing. There we go. Sorry. Should we just try it again? Yeah. Still nothing. Yeah, that did it. Nice. There we go. Okay. I do. Christopher Collins, Collins.
Mr. Collins, good evening. Your license is current tonight?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. You're qualified.
Thank you. So as Mr. Harrington stated, this property is known as 3 2nd Street or 242 Hudson Street. It's block 11603, lots 18.02, 18.03, 22, and 27. We have Hudson Street to the west, 2nd Street to the north, an existing service driveway to the east, and another private drive known as Harborside Place to the south. The entire site is approximately 4.2 acres. That includes Harborside 8, 9, and the open space area. The Harborside 9 project, which is the subject of this application today, in total is about 1.5 acres of the site. And the whole site, with the exception of that open space, is currently a surface parking lot. The proposed residential building will be 611 feet in height, 57 stories, will include 579 residential units, 14,840 square feet of retail. As Mr. Harrington mentioned, there is a setback variance. Currently, our setbacks are 12 feet 10 inches on the north side, 32 feet 4 inches on the east side, and 12 feet 10 inches on the west side. And we'll hear more testimony about that deviation from our planner. Parking will be provided in the podium of the building. There will be 230 spaces allocated for the residential use. 300 spaces for the Plaza 10 office use to make up for the lost spaces as the result of the development of the parking lot. And then an additional 25 spaces allocated for the retail uses for a total of 555. Bicycle parking will also be provided in the building per the land development ordinance. We are proposing 495 spaces total to meet the residential and retail requirements. Loading for the building will be on the east side along this existing service drive. And this is more or less opposite the existing loading dock for the Plaza 10 office building. So the service drive will be primarily for loading and servicing of the building, and continue to serve in that regard. The parking entrance will be provided on the Hudson Street side, about mid-block. And then, as Mr. Harrington mentioned, we are completing the kind of second half of this new access road that bisects the site and divides Harborside 8 and Harborside 9. That new access drive will have some on-street parking spaces. I think there's about 9 currently proposed. Those will be for quick drop-offs, very temporary parking uses, things of that nature. And this will be open to the public as part of the open space requirement. And speaking of the open space requirement, we meet the open space requirements of the redevelopment plan. And that is taken as the entire site, so that includes Harborside 8 as previously approved, currently proposed Harborside 9, and the existing and open space that was approved under Harborside 8. So we continue to maintain compliance with that requirement. Moving on to utilities. Stormwater from the site will be discharged to existing storm sewers, separated storm sewers in Hudson Street and 2nd Street. There is an existing stormwater treatment device in the service drive at the northeast corner of the site that is proposed to remain, and will treat runoff from the remaining vehicular surfaces that are on the site. Sanitary sewer connections are proposed also on Hudson Street and 2nd Street to existing separated sanitary sewers. And water service is proposed on 2nd Street and also to an existing main that runs north-south through the site that's connected to other water mains. Electric service is also proposed to be along the service drive. We have 2 transformer rooms within the building to house the transformers, and a gas connection will be made on that side as well. We have received comments from the JCMUA, the Division of Transportation Planning, and the Division of Engineering. For the MUA comments, we have no issues complying with those comments. With regard to the Division of Transportation Planning's comments, we're okay with them with the exception of the city bike station. We don't believe that there's an appropriate location for that, but I'll leave that up to Mr. Harrington to address further. And then regarding the engineering comments, we can agree to all of them with the exception of their comment number 5, which concerns installing a new pedestrian curb ramp over here at the northeast corner of the site opposite the service drive, as well as another one on the north side of 2nd Street. We do not control that property, so we can't make those improvements. There is an existing curb ramp here on on our side of the street, but I don't believe it meets current ADA requirements. But like I said, we can't, being an off-site improvement, we can't agree to comply with that at this time. And that concludes my testimony.
All right, thank you, Mr. Collins. I do have one question, and Counselor, correct me if this is going to come up, under different testimony. That new road, that's a private road, or that's going to be dedicated to the city?
That will remain private.
Okay. How is that not its own lot? So Plaza 8 and Plaza 9 are all contained with this road in the same lot.
Right.
How is the private road not a separate lot?
Well, we don't need to make it a lot. We can create that through an easement.
Okay.
It's kind of, sometimes you have cartways that are easements.
Sure.
That are dedicated, not specifically lots.
Okay. All right, understood. That's it for me. Anybody else for Mr. Collins?
And just to clarify
Anything
for the
else?
record that on, with regard to the review agent comments, as Mr. Collins said, some we can't do. Some, we've had discussions with Jersey City Traffic Engineering and the regular engineering department. And, we'll continue to review them with them, to see whether or not they can or cannot be done. They've already agreed on, with some of our comments.
Okay, understood. Eddie, anything? Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Collins. We appreciate it. You want to take 5? Yeah, absolutely. You want 5? We'll take 5. All right. We're going to take a 5-minute break, please, everybody. A little bit early tonight, but that's fine. And Mike, you don't have to. And Mr. Harrington, go ahead with your presentation, please.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, I'd like to move forward with our architect, Andy West, who is also the architect of record for Plaza 8. So he has a little bit of knowledge of both projects tonight.
Right hand. I do. Andrew West.
And Mr. West, we've qualified you in the past. Your license is current tonight?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you, sir. You're qualified.
And thanks for mentioning, Chuck, that we are the architects of Harborside 8 as well. And I use Harborside 8 and 9 nomenclature rather than Plaza, so bear with me. So here you will see on your screen.
I went to sleep.
That's weird.
It's not coming.
What in the? Oh.
Chuck, we just need you to hold the line.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. It's crazy. We used to get the largest sweets. See what happens when you start with your left hand?
There we go. Don't touch it. Okay. All right. The overall site plan, now you see it. And this is in the context. You see highlighted Harborside 9 and Harborside 8 below it, and the surrounding buildings.
Hey, Andy, before we get too deep, could we, actually, I probably should have done it last time. If we're going to mark the
We
the
do need
slide
to
deck
mark
as A2. This is something you prepared for tonight's presentation,
Correct, yeah.
One of 13? How many slides?
How many slides?
We have, I don't know exactly how many you have without checking.
You're 13.
1 to 13. Yes, thank you.
So right from, okay to go? Right from the beginning, we really saw Harborside 8 and 9 working together. We saw it as one great opportunity for an urban environment that has walkability, that has activity, that has public space. A really incredible opportunity in this part of town. So we see Harborside 9 today as really the complement and the completion of the Harborside 8, and both of them with shared amenities that come together with the overall site. Key elements of the site plan I want to point out to you in a couple slides are certainly the internal street. And that divided the block and also created a fantastic public space, we think, a connection from Hudson out to the water through the public spaces, and an activated street as part of the public space network. And what that also did is reduce the sizes of the blocks. So the blocks now, you know, it's not one big block, but it's absolutely an urban environment with a street through it, and that street hooks around and connects up to Second. And that really is a secret of, one of the secrets of walkability is just block sizes. So we think that that was a great opportunity that that internal street gave us. And then we proposed on these streets and on all of the frontages activation. And when we say that, we can say that it's commercial space or it's lobby space. It's where the lights are on. It's where you have activity. And then the key public space features that are shared, the Lutz Beer Garden, the park, the other improvements in that zone that I'm highlighting, playground. These are all shared by both sites and clearly part of the whole network of coming from, the pedestrian network of coming from Hudson out to the water. And then not the least of these key elements of the site plan is really the frontages on Hudson Street and then turning also onto Second Street. And that, you know, the way it was and the way it had been in large areas of this area are, you know, kind of isolated sites and parking lots. And we really saw the opportunity to continue Hudson Street as a walkable street. It kind of ended at Harborside 1, 2, 3. And now we could have the opportunity to continue it. So that was a big deal in the way we thought about the site plan. And I'm just going to show this one so that you have a three-dimensional version of that. You see this is a view looking out to the water, looking to the east, southeast. You see the Harborside 9 on the left and Harborside 8 on the right. The internal street going out to the park areas. And then importantly, you can see in this view down along Hudson Street, the facades, they're varied. They're not, we don't want to design them, we didn't want to design them as one note, a single building. So they are expressed as volumes that have an appearance on the street as almost like small buildings. So you see from the left on Second, then there's another expression as you get to the internal street, then Harborside 8 drops right down, the tower comes right down to the street, and then you get into Harborside 1, 2, 3. So we think it knits together, and our intention was to knit together Hudson Street as a walkable urban street. creating continuous building frontages. So now looking at the site plan, just really to highlight here, here's you see Harborside 8 is at the bottom. The colored plan is Harborside 9, and that shows its full size, the tower being on the north side. Think of, trying to highlight here active frontages. So if you start at the internal street here, it's completely commercial space all the way along. And that complements Harborside, which is either commercial space or lobby in this case. So we really had the opportunity to do a double-loaded street. Then you turn around, and on Hudson, you've got two large corner commercial spaces, and they're on either side of the ramp that takes you up into the parking garage. Then circling around onto 2nd Street, you have first the corner retail, and then that long purple stretch is lobby. And it's lobby and all the social functions that go along with it, including mailroom, and the leasing office is on the right. So really about 75% of this floor plate is active frontage, including the lobby and the commercial space. And I'll move quickly, but now I'm getting into an enlargement of that same plan and just kind of pointing out here the whole flow of the purple space. There are the cores there, purple space being the lobby and the entries on 2nd. And there's a lot of internal amenity space, including a pickleball zone. But you see where the cores are here, highlighted in yellow. Those are the cores for the tower. And then there also is a small core on the lower right, a small elevator, I should say. And that takes you from parking right down to that corner, that key corner that goes out to the river, out to the Lutz Beer Garden. And that can be used by any of the occupants of the parking garage. And I'm going to take you up through the tower a little bit. So this is a podium level of the 8-story podium. Actually, this is the lowest. This is the 3rd floor. And we have residential units wrapping that corner, which is really representing the tower footprint above. And this happens to be the 3rd floor, so you're seeing a lot of that light blue mechanical space. But up on all the floors above it within the podium, up to floor 8, not only is the parking looking a little bigger, it doesn't have so much of that blue mechanical space, but also where I'm highlighting, if you could see it, that becomes 2 more units. So here we have 8 units, but on the upper 4 floors of the podium, 5, 6, 7, 8, we have 2 more units, so it's 10 units fronting on 2nd and then around the corner onto Hudson. And by the way, this little section here tries to highlight where those are located. Moving up to the amenity level, this is the 9th floor. Tom is going to talk a lot more about the amenity space, the outdoor amenity space, but here is in purple all of those public functions, club room facing out into the podium top garden, fitness area on the right, and then public areas, game room, family room, kids room, and also a co-working conference center. So all of those functions in this floor plate. Oops. And then just quickly, that's the upper floor to bring the context of the whole thing. So that's your lower level floor. The floors range from 10 to 12 units, and the range of studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms. Very simple core, a very simple tower shape. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about the exterior. This is a view looking from 2nd, and it gives the whole picture of Harborside 9 in the foreground and Harborside 8. And really want to point out at the base, you see what I called before, individual building volumes. They're they're meant to look different. They're meant to create variation at the base of the building. I'll describe them in a blow-up. In terms of the towers, we see these as a very interesting series of volumes tight to the tower, to this very slender tower, which is an east-west orientation, that give a livelihood to this facade, really brought about by two facade expressions. The first one you see is the one that has the horizontal white lines. Those are metal panel. That we call the spine. Then the other one, which is quite reflective, or is shown as more reflective, is very flush. So these two are both curtain wall. They're both glass. They're slightly different glasses. One is slightly more reflective, but not much. Will give a real livelihood in terms of light. And so we saw that as a big part of the facade design, and whether it's morning, different times of the day, or nighttime, these things will change. So it's a changeable facade. We named them the spine, which has the horizontal lines, and the clips. They seem to be pieces of glass that are clipped on. We think this gives a very distinctive skyline, an active skyline, both from inside Jersey City and from the river. And I'm going to go blow this up now and talk a little bit more about the base. So that's the same, really, vantage point, just moved in closer. So that corner, you're now seeing the corner of 2nd and Hudson, going out to the river on the left. That volume on the left, which is very glassy, is kind of a version of the tower, but different. So it's subtly a different expression. And the top floor you see there, articulated by those darker lines, that's the amenity space. That's the game room and the family room. So that'll create a top. The bottom is the retail. So it starts to be like a pay homage to traditional base, middle, and top kind of buildings. And then the one on the right, to the right of that, which takes you to the internal street, is a wholly different kind of expression. That encloses the parking, and it uses quite a different grid, and quite a different facade grid and combination of materials, but I want to show you in a blow-up. So now I'm turning around from Hudson, looking at the corner of that volume we were just talking about, the podium. And we saw that inspiration as, we were inspired by these grand department stores. We want it to look like a commercial building. We certainly don't want it to look like a garage, and that's why we've gone to great lengths to create a punched window, so really a window look. The base is all that retail I described, commercial space. At the base, the columns are clad in granite. So like where you can touch, where you can get right up next to it, we upgrade the material there, and then large, wide storefronts in between. In the midsection, it's different metal panels. So there's a smooth metal panel, and then you can kind of see it here. Even in this rendering, we take certain areas like the corners, and also along the base first floor above the retail, and create a corrugated panel. And then in other areas that I'm highlighting, it's a smooth metal panel. Similar materials to Harborside 8, but used in quite a different way, and we think quite an active facade. And then at the top, this kind of crown element is a perforated metal, illuminated from the outside. It's lit so that it actually makes reference to an element that we have in Harborside 8 on the east side. And then finally working my way around to 2nd Street, that's the building entrance, that's the lobby. We're actually using a warmer metal there, the same one that we use on the canopy at the retail on the internal street. And we play the same game of distinctive volumes within this overall very glassy expression, so that it's broken up into pieces. And I hope I've given you enough information about the basic materiality of it and the basic concepts of it. This is hard to read, but this is all the information that's in the submittal set, and I have the materials back at the back of the room. It shows the glasses on the top row and then the podium materials on the bottom 2 rows, highlighting where I'm putting my mouse is. That perforated panel is the window in the podium. It's the window in quotes of the podium. It's open, and the garage gets ventilation that way. These are the various metal panels, corrugated and smooth. The perforated panel here on the right is the one that's up at the crown element. There's a warmer metal that we use for the canopies. These are granites that we use. The lighter granite is the one I pointed out at the retail. And these are other metal panels that are employed throughout the base of the building. And that gives you the summary.
Any questions for Mr. West?
Mr. West, I didn't hear a unit mix from you. Do you have a unit mix?
Yeah. So the unit mix, the percentages of unit types are 21% studios, 42% ones, 32% twos, and 5% threes. The total number of units in each of those categories, I will have to go back to that.
I'm fine
piece
with
of paper
percent.
over there.
Percent is fine.
And Mr. Harrington, are those percentages true of the affordables as well?
Yes. Yeah, and we work with the Division of Affordable Housing on their specific requirements as to, how many studios, 1-bedrooms, 2s and 3s are affordable units.
Okay, yeah, that was my next question. And also, where are the units, the affordable units located? Are they, kind of consigned to one end of the building, or are they spread throughout the project?
They're spread throughout the project in all types, but they're located in the lower third of the building, or lower 2/3 of the building, I should say, not the very top penthouse unit.
Okay. And this is something we always condition on an affordable housing project. All these units are made with the same fit and finish. There's no difference in the materials, the appliances, anything like that.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. That's it for me. Anybody else? Any questions?
Can you go over those percentages again?
Yeah. The studios are 21%.
I believe there's these numbers.
The studios are 21%, and they're 96.
Okay.
The 1-bedrooms are 42%,
All right.
307. 2-bedrooms are 32%, 166. And the 3-bedrooms are 5% at 10.
And just for the record, so you know there, the affordable units will consist of some 3-bedrooms as well. That is a requirement. So you're going to have some studios, and 1-bedrooms are maxed out at a certain point, and then you have to have 2-bedrooms and a minimum of a certain percentage of 3-bedrooms.
Do you have a percentage on those, on the affordables?
I don't have those numbers with me now. We are working with the Division of Affordable Housing on that, and then that is by regulation.
Chuck, one second. Chair, can I add something? Sure. A lot of questions for the affordable housing are controlled by Chapter 188 and UHAG, but I want to address something the architect said. The units can't be just dispersed between the lower 2/3. They have to be dispersed throughout the whole building as per Chapter 188. I don't want anything good to go on the record, to go in a resolution that Ms. Gazan, the director, has to deal with in the law later.
I wouldn't want to cause the director any more work. Okay, so
Understood.
council will strike that?
Yeah, I mean, it is all subject, as Ms. Marion just said, it is all subject to compliance with Chapter 188, which does have, the studio and one bedrooms are a max of 20% of the 87 affordable units. 2 bedrooms have to be a minimum of 30%, and at 3 bedrooms, a minimum of 20%.
So there are fewer 3 bedrooms, that's why they're mainly in the big body of the building.
Okay. Anybody else? Any questions for Mr. West? All right, thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
And my next witness is Mr. Carmen. He's our landscape architect.
And computer expert, I hear.
Not HDMI cord expert, though.
You swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
For the record, can you state the file?
Sure. My name is Thomas S. Carman, Carman.
Mr. Carmen, good evening. We've qualified you in the past. That license is current tonight?
It is, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. You're qualified.
And before you start, Mr. Carmen, could you identify how many slides you have in your slide deck, and if we could mark that as A3?
Sure. I have, I'm going to share 4 slides with you this evening. And they have the date of 10/31/2023. So they're essentially colorized versions of the plans that were originally submitted. What I'll do is I'm going to give you, Andy West gave you a great overview of the architecture. Chris Collins, a great civil overview. I'm going to be pretty brief and give you an overview of the landscape architecture as well as the exterior amenities. So what we have before you here, this is a composite plan. So it shows the street level. Then it also shows the 9th floor amenity deck that's on the south side, and then where the building steps back on the both on the east and the west side at the tower of the 10th floor, where there are some private terraces. So jumping to just the street level plan, we have same orientation, internal street down at the bottom. At the internal street, you saw the image that Mr. West showed of the streetscape where the granite columns were, and there was a canopy there. Along that area, you see that we have some decorative pavers at the sidewalks with the street trees. Along this roadway, we also have decorative column lights that were approved of part of Harborside 8 as well. The lighting around the other 3 sides along Hudson, 2nd, as well as on the east side, that's all the PSE&G standard city street light. As the sidewalk treatment going around those 3 sides is the standard concrete city sidewalk. We do have decorative pavers at 2nd Street, kind of complementing the lobby entry, where there are some stairs and a ramp providing access up to there. The street trees themselves are the varieties, and the detailing of the tree pits are all in keeping with the 2018 forestry standards. And we also have received the May 20th city engineering comment letter, and the items related to landscape architecture and lighting we are certainly able to comply with. Jumping up to the 9th floor, we have, this is where the amenity space is. So all the uses really complement the interior uses. So where Mr. West spoke about the interior fitness, we have an exterior fitness zone directly complementing that. The pool itself is raised up with ADA access up to it, ample sun terrace around it with some shade structures, overlook terrace looking out to the east, and then barbecue grilling, lawn panel, lounge seating space, as well as a dog run are provided at this level. All the planting associated with this is an intensive green roof soil profile, so providing various types of planting. Lastly, we're going to jump up to the 10th floor. This is where there is that little step back of the tower, and that is, you see a lot of green there. That's extensive green roof, and then the gray are private terraces for those residential units that open up on that area. The combination of the extensive as well as the intensive green roof and then the streetscape improvements all have us in compliance with the green area ratio. That's an overview. That concludes my testimony of the landscape improvements.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Corman? Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, then we'll move right along to Mr. Height to address the requested deviations.
I think that's fine. No, just work here. And Mr. Height, if you could just recognize that you're still under oath and you've been sworn in tonight,
Yes, noted, and I recognize it.
and you are still qualified. Congratulations.
Appreciate
big one.
that. So I do benefit from a very thorough presentation. I think the board has a good understanding of where the project site is, the location in the downtown area. We are also formally in the Harsmiths Cove Station redevelopment plan, the East Waterfront District. We do have 3 deviations being requested before the board. I do think that they all meet the flexible test where the benefits do outweigh the detriments associated with the project as a whole. These are all design considerations that are being addressed here, and I do think we address them well enough. So first and foremost, this overall lot is quite large with approximately 4 acres. The proposed Plaza 9 on the property on the northern side of the lot is approximately 1.5 acres. So we're dealing with a substantial amount of land. When we were considering locating this tower and the base in this portion, we obviously went through that planning process to understand how large that base could be, what the setbacks would be, if it was adequate from a pedestrian standpoint, vehicular circulation standpoint. 2 of the deviations being requested are related to that aspect in terms of the overall design. And one, well, all 3, but one is more routine in the sense that it is an overall lot where there are 2 structures being proposed on it. So that's a general LDO land development ordinance variance being requested. So with respect to the redevelopment plan, for the benefit of the board, I would read this into the record. It's a height requirement, but in truth, it's really a setback requirement as per the language. So the requirement's a minimum yard equal to the square root of the height of the structure multiplied by the appropriate yard factor shall be maintained for the number of percent of sides as indicated below. And there's a table. We went through the comparison approach, provided that table, and I think the folks at City Planning, Matt Ward, filled in with additional comparisons to provide this board with an accurate understanding of how tall all the heights are within this neighborhood and what the setbacks are. So from a formal standpoint, that calculation with our proposed building height would require a yard factor, a minimum yard of 124 feet, 0.8. What we were proposing, as you heard from Mr. Collins at the top of the presentation, are yard setbacks of 12.8 feet from the northern lot line, 32.4 feet from the eastern lot line, and 12.8 feet from the western lot line. These are all non-conforming to that 124 feet. So that's the deviation request with respect to that. In terms of the justifications, I do think we are obviously proposing sufficient setback from the proposed Plaza 8, which is to the south. There's approximately 74 feet in separation, so there's ample light and air to be supplied between both structures. It's the same as you venture north, east, and west to any adjacent structures in that area. This whole neighborhood is relatively developed with tall, high-rise structures that do need relief, as opposed to shorter structures where there's a substantial setback. So the whole product of that requirement would really create this suburban office park setting where you have really gracious lawns, not necessarily a downtown configuration. So that was part of the design with the setback requirement. With respect to the principal structures on one lot, again, as Mr. Harrington mentioned, a concept where there's an extended base, there's no new road, would be permitted. You'd still need a setback relief, but that would deal with the multiple structures. We thought, because of the size of the lot, because of the fact that the bases don't necessarily need a large base between the two buildings, introducing a new road for circulation, more pedestrian walkability, would be the better way to go with this design. So while we do need a variance for multiple structures on one lot, in this setting, the proposed design, the ground floor layout, the new road, provide a lot more benefits associated with it. We are able to accommodate all the access points from a vehicular standpoint, and not detriment any of the ground floor uses as well. That's just a product of the fact that we have a substantial amount of lot size. The last deviation is with respect to the wrap of principal uses. So we do have that on the ground floor. On the upper floors, only one of the facades is wrapped with that residential component. The other facades of the deck are adjacent to that exterior facade wall. As you saw from the, I'm not going to attempt it to change it, but I think there was an image earlier that showed the perspective of the base. We heard testimony from our project architect about the design being a holistic view, the facade integrating the metal, the variety of panels in a very consistent fashion. So from the exterior, you wouldn't appear as though it was a base. So this is a facade covering or shielding the base. It helps with the ventilation being adjacent to an exterior wall. But again, the aesthetics of it meet the intent of that requirement. So those are the justifications from a positive standpoint. With respect to advancing the municipal land use law, I do think that Purpose E, the appropriate population densities, are being furthered with the location of this project, the fact that we are, notwithstanding the relief, not only providing more residential housing, but also affordable housing in this instance, and that is a tremendous benefit. In terms of Purpose I, to create a desirable visual environment, again, it speaks for itself. The exterior facade was designed to not look like a parking deck, but look like, as was suggested, the commercial atmosphere of the base. With respect to the negative criteria, we do believe that the design of the setbacks and the multiple structures on one lot still allow for light and air, not only for the proposed structure, but all of the adjacent structures in the area. So there's no substantial detriment to the general welfare. We're still accommodating the appropriate sidewalk widths, street trees, pedestrian the pedestrian streetscape design, and also the appropriate width for the new road. So none of that is being infringed upon with this location of the base of the building. With respect to the intent and of the redevelopment plan, this is really the last component of this downtown area. I do have a photo log. I don't want to plug it in, but if you can envision a surface parking lot, it's just one less surface parking lot in the downtown area of Jersey City. So I do think it advances the purpose and intent of the redevelopment plan to allow for mixed use, high density development in the downtown area. There are policy statements. Everything I said, just phrased differently. It's in our statement of principal points. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board has on the deviations or the redevelopment plan.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Height. Anybody, any questions?
Yeah, I have two.
Sure, go ahead.
I want to know how they're going to handle their recycling and their sanitation needs.
Okay.
Coming out of these buildings.
Andy?
Recycling and trash.
Correct.
So we have our large trash zones over by the service dock.
So do you handle by compactors, direct feed, or,
We've accommodated for the compactors.
okay.
Sometimes they'll come in and they'll have different ways they
Oh,
want to
from
do it.
one unit, basically all in one?
Yeah,
Okay.
but we have, trash chutes for both recycling and regular trash. So
Okay.
they all come down to that large truck dock, and we kind of accommodates which way they may want to operate it, but it has the required amount of bays and
You
compactor
have this
spaces.
right now in other buildings that you have located there?
Same as Harborside 8.
Same as Harborside?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
It's an important
Any-
question. Operation.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Chuck, do we know how many parking spaces or are on the surface lot or about?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I do know, the 300 are going to be used by Plaza 10, so the office building. So I'm assuming it's around the same amount because that's the accommodation required.
So the surface, you're saying, I think I hear you saying, is about 300? You could yell it out.
You could yell.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I overestimated it. There's 202 surface parking spaces there now.
So you're going to get more than double with the new configuration.
You're going to get 300 allocated to, Plaza 10.
And then you'd still get a
still, yep.
win. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else? Council, I actually do have one question. The affordable units, you did mention that the intent is to make this a condo project, correct?
No, a condo in that, it's a commercial condo, in that you're going to have one lot and you're going to have Plaza 8 or Harborside 8 will be condo 1, and then Plaza 9, Harborside 9 will be condo 2. So you're not going to have individual
Understood.
condominium units being sold. They will be rental units.
Okay, understood. Okay, that answers my question then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
2 commercial condo units.
Yes.
All right, Council, is that your presentation?
Yes, just for the record, I do have my traffic engineer here if there are any questions. And then one last thing is I just put kind of a procedural request in the event the board chooses to approve this. We are asking for a preliminary and final site plan, so with deviations. So what that means is any approval is good for 2 years, and then you have to come back to this board and request approvals. I would ask, there's, the MLUL provides in certain circumstances based upon the comprehensiveness of the development and the number of units, that the protections be afforded to a project in the event it is approved for 5 years. The reason being is that Plaza 8 is going to be built first. Plaza 8 hasn't gotten out of the ground yet. We have building permits for it, but it's not going to be done in 2 years. It's probably a 2 to 3 year project. So kind of just thinking ahead. So that is something, if the board would consider that in the event they approve this, we're making that request. In this, Council.
So Chairman, it is permissible under the MLUL, and my recollection is it's in the discretion, the absolute discretion of the board as to how much time they would afford the applicant. Just want to.
Yeah, it's 55D-52.
52, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, on the approval history.
So the statute states at 40:55D, 52E3 that the additional time period shall be determined by the planning board to be reasonable, taking into consideration the number of dwelling units and non-residential floor area permissible under final approval, number of dwelling units and non-residential floor area remaining to be developed, economic conditions, and the comprehensiveness of the development. So the actual length of time is in the discretion of the board. I think there's no question that it's a comprehensive development. Mr. Harrington's asking essentially for an additional 3 years to make a max of 5. He's explained, obviously, the sister construction of Harborside 8, so it's the board's discretion. I have no problem with the request being made.
Let's address it as we get closer to the
Yes, I
motion.
just wanted to put it out there rather than bring it up later.
Sure.
And that
No, I
then
appreciate it.
completes our presentation.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, let's open it up for public comment. If anybody's here from the public that wants to comment on this application, please come on up. Anybody from public? Come on up.
How's it going? I have to swear you in, okay?
Sure.
You raise your right hand. You swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And for the record, can you state, spell your name and give us your home address, please?
Yes, Sameer Savla, Sameer Savla. Address is 1 2nd Street.
Good evening, sir. We have 3 minutes for you.
Yes, so I'm basically over here opposing this new construction. We already also have an online petition which has been signed by almost 600 signatories from the people living in the area. We're all opposing this new construction. Jersey City is already overly dense in that area, and then this proposed new construction is just going to cause additional traffic, additional congestion in the public transportation systems, schools that are over capacity. Furthermore, during the construction, that can take years. It's going to cause all of us will suffer through unhealthy air and noise pollution. Our proposal, we would like more green spaces to be created instead of, more high-rise buildings coming up in that area. And that's basically, what I wanted to say. And, I'm basically speaking, I know there's many other residents from this area who have also come over here. And as I said, that we've also created an online, petition, and we have almost 700 signatories over there as well.
Okay, thank you, sir. So the board doesn't accept petitions. We have no way to verify who's signed that petition. We only go by public comment that's right in front of us. This is where our decisions are made. That's it. Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you. We
Thank you.
appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else from public? Please, come on up. Come on up. Don't be shy. You've been here all night. This is your time.
How's it going? I'll swear you in. You swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
For the record, can you state, spell your name and give us your home address, please?
Mina Shahada, MINA SHEHATA. I live in 22nd Street.
Good evening, sir. We have 3 minutes for you.
Thank you. So I've been a Jersey City resident since 2018 and have been down 2nd Street almost every day since. It's changed a lot over the years. You have the beer garden down there, Locale, and Hudson & Co. Locale and Hudson & Co. host large events and weddings, and it gets heavily populated with the pedestrian traffic that comes down 2nd Street. The parking lot gets filled up pretty regularly by the office tenants and then the after-hours commuters that come in. And, there is certainly a lack of public space outside of the beer garden. I know the architect mentioned a public playground, but I'm not sure where that was referenced because right now all of that green space is operated by the Smorgasbord Beer Garden. And, outside of that, there is no playground, there is no public green space. So You know, in my building, we have the benefit of having a small tot lot, but that is private. You know, our building assumes all risk and responsibility, and that is not open for the public use. So I appreciate, you know, the design and the aesthetic and all the thought that's gone into this project, but I do feel that with the amount of foot traffic that'll come in from the delivery drivers and pedestrians coming into the retail and the existing, you know, restaurant operations there, we really don't have a lot of sidewalk space for all the families that live in that area. We have a lot of young kids, lots of strollers, and you have bikes zipping out of there, and Second Street doesn't have any bike lanes. So when you put all that congestion there, I just get pretty worried about what that's going to do to the local community and, you know, the residents in that surrounding building, given that you have, you know, 3 condo buildings very close to the development of this site.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else from public? Please come on up.
I do.
State and spell your name and give us your home address, please.
Gunwant Wakila, G-U-N-V-A-N-T, and last name is V-A-G-H-E-L-A, and I live 20 2nd Street, apartment 2209.
Good evening, sir. We have 3 minutes for you.
Yeah, thanks. Honorable Chairman and all board member, when I was renting an apartment in Newport, at that time construction work was going on. So when I was going on boardwalk and going towards the Hoboken railway station, at that time all of a sudden they start pile foundation and there was a noise came and I have to close my ear and humming sound was continue. Even though I closed my ear, humming sound was continue for few seconds. So I checked the New Jersey noise laws. All the laws are within the construction side, but they don't protect the local people. So here also I would like to know that what will be the mitigation? Is there a monitoring? How it will be monitored, this noise?
So that
Because
falls...
I raised this issue when there was a Pier 6 meeting, and I raised to the board. And I think at the time, chairman also recognized that, yes, there were some complaints.
So that doesn't fall under the planning board's purview. Tanya, that would be the building department, correct? Yeah, so during any construction, those concerns would have to go to the building department. They can come out. They have decibel meters that measure, you know, any noise complaint.
So will they put any instrumentation and monitoring? Because it's very close to my apartment. My
Sure.
apartment is just facing this and this Harborside 9.
It would have to go through the building department. It doesn't go through the planning
No,
board.
but just I would like to know. So building, I need, because when I was renting, I checked police department everywhere. No one was answering me.
Right? My understanding, it's building department. Yeah.
Chairman, it's definitely the building department. And sir, quite frankly, I don't know the answer because it's not within the purview of this board. It's an issue for the building department during construction, well after any action's taken here.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Okay, anybody else from public? Please come on up.
Graham, do you swear any testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do swear that.
State and spell your name and your home address, please.
Right. My name is Zhan Huang. First name Z-H-A-N, last name H-U-A-N-G. My home address is 22nd Street. And it's,
Good evening, sir. We have 3 minutes for you.
Okay. And I can start, right? So first of all, yeah, so I live in the Manolith building, which is directly across from this new construction. And if you look at, oh, actually, can I change this?
That's
if you-
actually not your computer, sir.
I can't touch it. Okay. And from one of the ones they show that there's the 2 buildings towering, and they're just completely, the shadow just engulfs the entire Manolith building. And what they're proposing is also they're even asking for variances to encroach even further to our side, and this is going to be very bad for the building. And like just overall, the entire presentation, I feel like it comes off as misleading in a lot of separate points. For example, they say, oh, we're adding a new road. This is going to promote walkability of this area. But that's not true, right? Because they are already building Plaza 8. With that building complete, there will be that road. They're not going to have that connect directly to this street-level parking space. That's just doesn't make sense. So it doesn't. This walkability is not dependent on this Plaza 9, and it's interesting they said. And I quote that if they wanted to follow all the rules for building this building, they have to make this Frankenstein building. I think this is more a sign for them to not build the building, as opposed to trying to break the rules and bring this proposal forward. And also, yeah, so they're saying from one of the streets, they're building this facade to make it seem like a not that tall of a building, but from our side, from the Second Street side, that just vanishes, right? If you look at it from that angle, it's just a two giant monolith, just towering over everything, and just it's not a very good aesthetic for the area. And yeah, it's not even as good for the original approved building construction, which is Plaza 8. It also even blocks some of that view, and they're just making more space for that and just less space for our building. And I think that's, as a neighbor, I think this is this is not very neighborly behavior, and it's to the detriment of the entire community. On top of that, it's going to bring a lot of traffic. We just had the July 4th celebration, and the waterfront is a perfect place for viewing. After the fireworks has ended, for hours, the Second Street wouldn't clear because it's just packed with traffic. With these new construction, it's just going to bring more traffic, and that small road does not really help address the traffic issue. It's just going to get worse. And even
That was your 3 minutes, sir. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, anybody else from public? Anybody else, please come on up.
I do.
And for the record, can you state, spell your name and give us your home address, please?
Yes, my name is Ru Feisheng, R-U-F-E-I-S-H-E-N-G, and my home address is 22nd Street at Mandalay.
Good evening. We have 3 minutes for you.
Good evening. Thank you so much for giving us a chance to speak in our thoughts. I'm the resident in Mandalay, which is a building right in front of the Plaza 9. First of all, we really hope that you will consider the building design to incorporate more human-centered elements and bring empathy to our existing community. As you can see, this building stands right in front of our Mandalay, with a very narrow road between those two buildings, very little open space. And our Mandalay Tower is just 1/3 the height of the Plaza 9. We are a very tiny building, but Plaza 9 is a very wide building as well, leading to no views, no sunlight, and even no normal daylight of our current Mandalay residents. This will create terrible living conditions, so we really hope there will be more open space between those two buildings. Like, for example, probably they can put the shorter part, like the terrace part, closer to our building, so they will creating like longer distance between those buildings. That will bring more empathy to our existing community very much. Secondly, as you know, in this area, we only have two roads. The second road is a dead end, and the Hudson Road is interact with the light rail track. So the traffic will be very terrible once we having those Plaza 9 adding to this area. And also, you may didn't know that our Mandalay Kids playground is just near the crossroad of the Hudson Street and the Second Street. So if we have more buildings in this area, the traffic will be very congested and maybe have fast traffic as well. It will make our kids very unsafe in this area, as well as other residents, because more and more cars will occupy these streets. Lastly, we think this area already have a lot of like planned and approved new buildings. Besides from this Plaza 9, we already have like 2 Plaza 8, like those 3 buildings just in visual distance. There's no much green space for children to play, and Jersey City may become an unsustainable transit hub without adequate parks and open areas. So we really hope you can consider those points. And we also think we didn't get notice to our individual address about these plannings. That's why we want to speak out our thinking in this meeting. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it. Anybody else from public? Please come on up. Anyone else from public?
Seeing no one else from the public, Mr. Chair, I motion to close.
I second it.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Public is closed. Tanya, do you want to wrap up?
Sure. I'll read the conditions into the record. I don't want to, for brevity, I'm just going to shorten the ones that are the standard, right? So the testimony is binding, no changes without consultation. That might be required amendment. All street trees in accordance with the Jersey City forestry standards and installed prior to CO. It looks like to me that all of the review agent comments from the JCMUA, Division of Engineering / Division of Engineering Transportation have already been addressed, but I will leave that comment there. The applicant shall forward copies of any waterfront development permits associated with this development application to City Planning. The applicant shall comply with rules and regulations of the Jersey City Municipal Code, Chapter 187, Inclusionary Zoning, and Chapter 188. 7, an affordable housing agreement shall be executed and received all necessary city approval prior to any CO for this project. 8, prior to any CO, the applicant agrees to enter into an agreement or amend any agreement with the city regarding the on-site public access and public open spaces. 9, applicant and owner shall comply with conditions of approval set forth on the record by planning board and or division of city staff. And of course, 10, all conditions of past approvals shall remain in full force and effect.
Excuse me, those would be acceptable, but I just wanted to clarify with regard to the review agents, there are a few issues or comments that we want the ability to continue to discuss and address with them. The ones that we noted on the record.
Sure.
Okay.
Tanya, you're okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else, Tanya?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion then.
Wait, Chairman, could I ask 2 quick questions?
Sure, go ahead.
Any of that parking that's being set, will that be available to the public in those buildings, even for fee?
I don't know at this point. I mean, it's dedicated to Plaza 10 and then to the condo buildings. If, like all buildings downtown, in the event it's not used up, it's generally then offered to the public if permitted.
I do know that I'm not sure the address, the building on the north side of the street across from Plaza 10, they do have valet.
Right.
They have
Where the
public
locale
valet
is.
parking, yes.
The Marbella, is it the Marbella?
Is it Marbella? I forget the name.
It's the Marbella,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, they do have public valet parking.
I'm just asking because those are valid points from the public about the Atelier Ballroom, Hudson Co., Locale, Ondo, the restaurant, and, they do attract customers, and that lot has been used. So if there's some way to figure out to be able to allow the public, even for a fee, to park in their valet, I think that would be great. The other thing is under the Chapter 188, my second point is are the percentages of those units carved out, or is it something that your client designates?
No, it's codified in the local ordinance by, excuse me, the Affordable Housing Ordinance, Chapter 188, how many units you have to have and the income levels. That's all regulated by the Division of Affordable Housing. We don't have any discretion or really, power to dictate, what's going to happen. They pretty much tell the developer what it's
So
going
do
to
they tell you whether to use a studio, one bedroom, 2 or 3?
Yes,
Those formulated?
They have, that's where we were talking about the percentages. It's like the maximum is 20% that can be studios and ones, and that cannot be more than 50% studios. That's a discussion we had with them. So of the 20%, only up to 50% can be studios, and then the rest would have to be one bedroom. So you can't have all studios. So that is dictated by the local ordinance and a Division of Affordable Housing.
Right. The only reason I ask is because under the application, if I'm reading it correctly, you had somewhere upward of 80% for 2 and 3 bedrooms. From, let me just
Yeah.
say. So 52 2-bedroom units, 18 3-bedrooms.
Well, actually, I think it would be that way. I'm thinking maybe the percentages were incorrectly stated earlier, because it's a maximum of 20%, I believe, can be studios and one bedroom. So the remaining 80% have to be a mix of the 2s and the 3s.
Which is, I mean, it certainly is an incentive for families, so.
Yes.
Thanks for clarifying.
And it's got to be by income level.
No,
in
I
addition
get
to
that. I
right?
saw that. 3, very low, low, and moderate. Right.
And I think it mirrors the state.
Right.
Okay, anybody else, any questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion then.
All right, so I'll make a motion to approve case P 2023-0012.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded for approval.
Councilwoman Prinzery,
Aye.
Commissioner Torres,
I want to thank the public for coming out and speaking on this project. I think the project is surface parking that's been in that area, and for the many years that we've been on this board, or even before that, we see that there is projects being proposed for these areas, just like in Newport, there's projects. So when we hear the public come out and they live in a building, but somebody wants to build something on this surface parking, it's pretty much known that something was going to be developed there at one time or another. So just to the public, I'll let you know, I like the project. I think it's nice. I like the fact that I think the road, using the road and the street, it's not a hard variance to go by, because it makes the project, the flow of traffic, more good in that little section there. And with that, I'm going to vote aye for this project. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize if I'm out of order, but does the pending motion include the request for the 5-year approval?
I just thought of that.
Good catch.
So we're in the middle of the motion.
Let's take the call.
So we want to take
And
the,
then we'll address it after. If
Yeah.
the motion passes, then we'll address the request.
Yep, I'll follow your lead.
Sure.
Commissioner Stamato,
I vote aye.
Commissioner Lipsky,
So this started about 25 years ago as a surface lot parking for almost 800 ferry passengers, and then evolved into a 19-story building, and here we are looking at 2 marvelously designed buildings, I think. And nobody spoke, negatively about the design, other than maybe it blocks some sunlight. I go down there quite often, and certainly parking is a concern, but I think, when you look at the overall, as was explained by Mr. Haidt, benefit to detriment, this certainly far, in my opinion, exceeds in terms of benefit. So I vote aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai.
Yeah, this is the problem in Jersey City. Journal Square, you see, there are like 10 high risers now. When I started living there were none. And in downtown now there are maybe 25 high risers, more maybe 50. and the only problem is parking. So everybody is worried about parking and traffic, but you go by rules and regulations. We cannot say no to you, so I would have to vote aye.
Commissioner Green
I vote aye.
and Chairman Langston.
So, I mean, this has been envisioned for quite some time. This isn't a surprise to anybody on this board. And, you know, we always say if there's a surface parking lot in front of your building and you're on the waterfront, it's not going to be a surface parking lot forever. Again, this has been the plan for years. I can't remember how long this has been in place, but, you know, this has always been envisioned there. The variances that trigger the affordable housing ordinance, I think, are a great plus to the community. You know, the 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom units, we don't often see that many affordable units in those sizes, so I think it's a great help to the community. I think it just activates, you know, the private road through in between Plaza 8 and Plaza 9 activates the retail space. I don't think there's any detriment to the redevelopment plan or the master plan here, so I am going to vote aye.
Motion carries. All in favor.
Okay, thank you.
Now, Mr. Harrington, it would be appropriate, Chairman, if you want to entertain the request for the extension of the time in which to act under Section 52 of the MLUL.
I personally have no problem with an additional 3 years. I'll throw it out to the rest of the board. I know,
I've been on the board for years. Now, there was projects with Jonas Square that had a 555, and they did it a lot faster than 555. You know, the market called for the buildings to go up, and they went up. So I don't see it as a problem extending it. It's basically, to me, working in the construction trade, it's really realistic.
Yeah.
What they're asking us. So with that, I'll take that stand on it. I just hope that we get it done in 3 years for both of them, you know?
yeah, I mean, if
Get
it
the
was,
manpower, that's for sure.
well, if it only relied on the construction trades, it could be done in that much time, easily. But it's, you know, I wish we could, but, no, unfortunately, it's, you know, the money aspect is the worst part. Okay, anybody else want to weigh in?
Yeah, could we do like, I don't know if this is practical, but I'm just thinking about it, and you're talking 2 major projects in that area. A 3 with a maximum of 5?
So they already get 2.
They're already getting 2.
They get 2 with the approval, so we're granting,
All right, so you give them the 3, you're basically doing 1.
we're covering them for 5.
Okay. All right.
Okay? Do we need a roll call on this?
Yep.
Make a motion.
Okay, so
Second,
let's,
roll call.
I'll entertain a motion for a 3-year extension.
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion that on this project, PL, what is it?
P2023-00.
1, 2. With the understanding of the MLUL, Chapter 52, we are seeking to grant an extension up to 5 years for this project.
The extension is 3 years.
Up to, all right, so
It-
3 years.
Statutory protection.
Yes.
Section 52 of the MLUL.
Okay. So total of 5, 3-year extension.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, Cam.
Councilwoman Prinzary. Commissioner Torres. Commissioner Stamato. Commissioner Lipsky.
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai. Commissioner Green.
Aye.
And Chairman Langston.
Aye.
Motion carries. All in favor.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Harrington, before you leave, we do have Your item 19 tonight, we're obviously not getting to that.
That's right, yeah. If we could, I spoke with Cameron earlier, if we could get that carried to the August 6th meeting with preservation. Actually, I don't believe we noticed for that because it's just an interim use for a signage. But if we could carry it to August 6th, is that the date?
Is it 6 or 8? When's the first meeting in August? August 6th, okay. So we're going to carry case P2024-0058 is an interim use for 780 to 782 Newark Ave. We're going to carry to a date certain August 6th. Okay, thank you,
Okay,
Council.
thank you.
And Mr. Burke, do you want to come up as well? Okay, Council, we have you for 77 to 79 Grand Street.
That's correct,
Case
Chairman.
P2024-0017 for a minor subdivision with C variances. And we are going to talk about August 6th.
We weren't sure, because at one point we were asked to carry this to August 6th, another point we thought we might get on, so I'm just hearing for the first time, we're not going to get on, I guess.
We don't open a new
Yeah.
application after 10 o'clock.
Okay, all right, understood.
I do
Yep.
need, we still have business tonight. I need an executive session as
Understood,
well.
I understand.
So we'll carry that to a date certain of August 6th, if that's okay.
Okay, we'll
And
agree to
that's
extend
with-
any time.
Yes,
you know,
that's,
for a
and
decision.
I appreciate that. And that's with preservation of notice.
Right.
Okay, thank you,
right.
sir. We'll see you on August 6th.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Oh, well.
Okay, so that does it. We're going to move on to memorialization of resolutions. I'm going to read these resolutions into the record, and then I'll entertain a motion and a second. We have 4 resolutions for tonight. Number 1 is the City of Jersey City Planning Board in the matter of Black Iron Journal Square LLC, application number P21-065. It's for the abandonment of approval for a proposed development on the property located at 810 Bavonia Ave, Jersey City, New Jersey, 07306, and being designated as Block 9404, Lot 30. The second resolution is the resolution in the matter of 47 Van Rypen Ave LLC at 47 Van Rypen Avenue, Jersey City, New Jersey, Block 7905, Lot 14. Application number was P2023-0080. This was decided on May 21st, 2024, memorialized July 9th, 2024. It's an application for minor site plan approval and C variance, deviation, and design waiver exception relief. The third resolution is the resolution of the Planning Board of the City of Jersey City preliminary final major site plan approval with bulk deviations submitted by Cottage Journal Square Lofts LLC, 42 to 46 Cottage Street, Block 7902, lots 51, 52, 53, and 54. That case number was P2023-0094. I'm sorry, 95. And number 4 is the resolution of the Planning Board of the City of Jersey City, applicant 29 Van Rypen LLC, for termination, withdrawal of preliminary and final major site plan approval with deviations at 21 to 29 Van Rypen Avenue, Jersey City, New Jersey, block number 7904, lots 1 and 2. That case number was P20-165. And do I have a motion? Motion. Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can I have a roll call, please, Cam?
Councilwoman Prince Marie.
Aye.
Commissioner Torres.
Aye.
Commissioner Stamato.
Aye.
Commissioner Lipsky.
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Desai. Commissioner Green.
Aye.
And Chairman Langston.
Aye.
Motion carries all in favor to memorialize resolutions.
Okay, thank you. Before we adjourn, I do need an executive session. 2 minutes.
If we're gonna talk about that, let's get that microphone off that chair. It's coming together, Doc, okay.
And we do need to stop recording.
Yeah, okay.